It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center Studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with John Riley, broadcasting from left field with his opinions. And we welcome you to this Thursday show as we get ready to go towards a great sports weekend. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. If you've got projects for 2025, they've got materials. If you're looking for ideas, they can be your best friend. DIXIELINE Lumber, go to DIXIELINE.com to see everything that they have. And by Our Lads Draft Guide. If you're a pro football fan, if you're a college football fan, you need to subscribe to Our Lads. There's still time for you to go on their website, place the order to get their draft book, their newsletters, get ready for the National Football League draft. That's at ourlads.com. John Riley, good afternoon. There are not enough hours in the day to do everything we're going to do. We're going to try to get it done. It's like juggling plates in the air, juggling balls in the air. Don't you dare drop anything on this podcast. How are you?
Good. You always come rolling in here with your hair on fire, and it's playoff time in the NBA, the NHL. It's a great time to be alive.
Yeah, and that does not include what's happening in baseball and what's going to happen next week, the National Football League draft. So we're going to go a lot of different directions on this podcast. Couple of business items. Item 1, next Monday, our popular NFL draft preview. John Cooper, draft publisher and editor of Our Lads Draft Guide. He'll be with us on the podcast, on the live stream. We're going to break down the National Football League draft. Want you to message all your football fans and friends, 1:30 next Monday, our NFL draft preview. Second item, I write a ton of stuff every day on my website. It's there. It's absolutely free. Have you checked it out? You should. Just go to leehacksawhamilton.com. When we're done with this podcast, just find out the volume of information that's there. By the way, there's also an orange box right on my homepage. If you fill it out, you get on the email list. You get to become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. We email a lot of stuff out every day of the week to the people on the Insiders Group list. So register there on my website. You're on social media. I invite you to go to X. I want you to join me at Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button. Every time I put something up on Twitter, on social media, you'll get the flash. You'll know. Want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel and the other social platforms, you get the alerts every time we put something up. And we put a lot of videos up on our social media platform. So there's a ton of ways to follow what we're doing in addition to the podcast and Mondays and Thursdays. And John, when we're done with topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, when we're done, the fans get their chance to stand up, express an opinion, ask a question, make a statement. It's called Fans Forum. Just explain how that works.
So Fans Forum, your chance to get involved. Have a question or comment, drop your hot take in the live chat, Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum at the end of Hacksaw's Headlines.
And just a reminder again, Monday, 1:30, NFL Draft Preview. You like the NFL, you like college football. We cover it like nobody else does in Sports Talk Radio. NFL Draft Preview next Thursday. John, we're going a lot of different directions today. You wanted to start with baseball? Go ahead.
Yeah, because the Padres and the Dodgers are just red hot right now.
And they both go on the road. And everybody around Major League Baseball are talking about those two teams. Padres, Dodgers, Dodgers, Padres. It's really cool first month of the baseball season. Let's just walk through where we are. This is a Padres baseball team that's now 15-4 as they go on the road. It's a Padres team that has just been phenomenal at home. They got a superstar in right field who is healthy. And Fernando Tatis goes on this road trip with a .348 batting average, 6 bombs, and a 1,048 OPS, which is through the roof. We've not really seen this since Fernando's 42 home run season a couple of years ago, prior to the injuries, prior to the suspension. And by the way, he's like a vacuum cleaner in right field. He's picking up everything that is being hit in his direction. Superstar start to the season. I'm not going to use the initials MVP yet because there's a lot of baseball to be played, and there may be some injuries along the way, but he is really playing at a different level that we've not seen in a period of time. Machado's hitting .324, some timely home runs. It's a really, right now, balanced baseball team. Michael King, Nick Pivetta, just bulldogs on the mound. You don't want to face them because they just have a different style and a different approach. Very impressed. Going to have to figure out Dylan Cease because he still is highly erratic, runs hot, runs cold. He's got the ZRA that's in the sixes right now. The bullpen has been spectacular for the most part. A little bit concerned about overuse of those 4 or 5 guys in the bullpen because they're going to Jason Adam, Robert Suarez, Adrian Morion, an awful lot. And how about the fans' turnout? Holy cow. 3 games. And some of this has got to do with what they've created at Gallagher Square out in right center field. 3 home games, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Padres drew 47, 40, and 41,000 plus to those 3 games. Baseball, the thing to do in San Diego, Petco Park, Gaslamp Quarter, downtown. It's been pretty impressive. Reaction to Padre baseball.
Well, I want to ask you, you predicted this was a third-place team to start the season. And now here they are, the best record in Major League Baseball at the top of an incredibly stacked division. Do you still think this is a third-place team?
At this point in time, the standings say they're a first-place team with the best record in baseball that everybody's talking about. Last I checked, it's a 162-game schedule. Last I checked, outside of the Cubs, they've not played anybody. Now they go on the road and they play Houston, and we'll just see as the schedule gets tougher and tougher. But so far, so good in most components of Padre baseball. And my theory about the thinking man manager, I think Mike Schulte has had an enormous impact on the approach to the game, execution of the game, communication of the guys in the dugout and what they're doing on the field. And the guys are playing pretty well. Again, 162 games, you're going to get some guys hurt along the way. But as long as Tatis and Machado and those 3 starting pitchers can be what they're doing right now, this is really good. But it's early in the season.
Yeah, it's early, but we got to love everything that's going on here. Good vibes. You know, your whole bit about Schulte and, you know, the man in the dugout, he's a thinking man. I get it. But isn't it interesting that Schulte does not look like an athlete, you know, and he's a good dude and he knows the game. And to your point, when he's in those press conferences, you understand him at a much deeper level.
Yes.
And, you know, he doesn't look the part, but boy, does he really make great decisions. But I love everything Niebla is doing with the pitching staff. Tatis showing a lot of maturity, you know, not chasing. You know, when he had the bases loaded yesterday, he could have tried to hit a grand slam, but he was mature. He waited for his pitch. It wasn't there. He took a walk, still got an RBI, and the Padres are just going to keep winning. I can see this thing building. But yeah, we need Merrill back, you know, and we need Darvish back.
And we need Cronenworth back.
Yeah, we need a lot more back.
And Lockridge is also now dinged up with a minor hamstring. So everybody's going to have injuries, and some have already had major injuries. Luckily for the Padres, minor injuries to date. We don't have any timeline at all on Darvish, and obviously Waldron's now gone on the 60-day disabled list. And I'll spin back to my statement when the season started. They cannot afford to have anything physically happen to the top 3 starters in the rotation that are currently on the mound.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were going to include Darvish in that. So really the top, okay. One of them's already down. He'll hopefully be back soon in Darvish. But yeah, King, Pivetta, and Cease need to be solid. I agree with you.
Pretty good start. Pretty exciting. But don't hold it against me that I said third place team because I maintain it's a long season. It's a very, very tough division. In fact, a more surprising, tougher division than anybody ever imagined. because the damn Giants are in this thing.
Social media is bagging on you right now. They're like,
I don't care.
What are you doing, Hacksaw? Because you were praising Schilt and you were saying how great Schilt's doing. And you're like, Hacksaw, you were just bagging on these guys a couple of weeks ago. We don't want you on our bandwagon. Go back to LA and root for your LA fans. And then the LA fans get angry with you. You're a Padre fan. You're not a Dodger fan. The fans are all over the place. But I think a lot of it's because these teams the Padres are exceeding expectations, and the Dodgers, even with a great record, I think are maybe below expectation.
Okay, let's talk about the second team that everybody's talking about, the Dodgers. This is not quite what we expected, but then again, they got a bunch of guys dinged up, and that's the big issue. You know, Freddie Freeman had played only 6 of the first 13 games because of this gimpy ankle situation. A bunch of guys are not hitting right now with the Dodgers. And their pitching staff, the young guys have not pitched very well, and that's kind of a subliminal issue. Ohtani is not ready. Kershaw had his first good outing at Oklahoma City, but they are still maintaining June or July with him. Ohtani sometime in May, and then Blake Snell is on the disabled list with his shoulder inflammation. Has hardly thrown at all, so this could be a 2 to a 4-week setback for them. The positive with the Dodgers, Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts, and Will Smith has had a pretty good start to the season. Ohtani has not quite had the dominant start, but he doesn't have a lot of guys on base when he's getting his hits. That this lineup has still got to come together. Dustin May, 1.06 ERA in 3 starts.
Wow.
That is really impressive. So this is not a complete Dodger team as we think it will be. And again, it's a 162-game schedule. It is strange to look in the standing and see the Dodgers in third place. Third place. That is strange. But small sample size.
Yeah.
Lots of explanations as to why. So, Padre fans, you don't have to vent at me. You can vent at them. Dodger fans, you don't need to vent at me. You can vent at them. I just happen to be the conduit of information and opinion. Here we are. And at the end of the day, for all the emails I'm getting and for what's being written on social media, my response is, thanks for following. That's what makes this podcast great, what makes my website of such great value to the sports fan. You got a response to the Dodgers, what we're seeing out of the gate?
You know, that was a weird game last night against the Rockies. I mean, they jumped out to that big lead. The Rockies sort of caught back. They knocked Bobby Miller around. You know, and Bobby Miller had his moments last year. So it just seems like, yeah, the Dodgers have all these other guys that are just ready to come off the injured list.
Not next week, though.
No, yeah, but like you say, it's still early. But when you've got Ohtani, Snell, Kershaw, those are like 3. Well, certainly 2 Hall of Famers, maybe 3 in that bunch that are ready to come on your rotation. I mean, they're blessed. They've got resources up the yin-yang.
It's a 162-game schedule. Season's not ending next week, so don't be reaching for any panic button. But if you want to blame me for covering all the stories, go ahead, blame me, because I will have opinions on all the stories. So we got the Padres, we got the Dodgers. Feel free. Fans Forum chat box is open. If you got a response to what you've seen with Padre baseball out of the gate, what you've seen with Dodger baseball, feel free to participate right now. Now, there's other baseball stories that we're going to talk about because we're going to take this a number of different directions.
Yeah, this list is pretty intriguing. Let's go break it down.
Let's start with the salute to Jackie Robinson. That was kind of cool. And this obviously has been going on. This was a pet project of the past commissioner, Bud Selig. Everybody wears number 42. It was really interesting to me. Jason Hayward held a clubhouse meeting with the Padres. And of course, he's kind of the senior citizen on the roster with a world of experience. And he talked about how young ball players should view that guy and what he meant to this sport. Talking about Jackie Robinson, why we're all wearing number 42. I was told it was a pretty impressive sit down with an intellectual clubhouse guy who's got a great track record as a leader in Jason Hayward. The Dodgers brought in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to meet with Dodger and Rocky players that afternoon out front of the Jackie Robinson statue at Dodger Stadium. And Jabbar made really strong comments about society then, society now, made some comments about the White House, etc. Really a full spectrum of history about relationships, white versus black, and then, of course, circle back to what Jackie Robinson meant to baseball. I wrote a column on my website that ran on Wednesday about Jackie Robinson and what he went through and what he said about himself, what he said about society. And then I went through the Jackie Robinson Foundation website and I dug up all these quotes from legendary baseball people, and I added their quotes to Jackie Robinson's quotes as part of my column. I mean, I have great respect. I saw Jackie Robinson in person one time, first baseball game I ever went to at Ebbets Field, Dodgers Cardinals, 1957. And as I was writing the column, I thought to myself, Jackie Robinson finished up his baseball career like he lived his entire life. White man was not going to tell him who to be, how to act. The Dodgers tried to trade Jackie Robinson in the offseason in 57 to the New York Giants. 3 weeks later, Jackie stood up and said, I'm not reporting to the Giants. You take that pitcher, Dick Littlefield, back, I'm retiring. So Jackie left baseball on his own terms rather than the white man's terms, a white man obviously being Walter O'Malley. But at the end of the day, I think we honor Jackie Robinson for what he did as a player. Lifetime career, .311 batting average, all the positions he played. Then we honor him and remember him for what he dealt with in baseball. Beanballs, getting spiked, getting cursed, getting harassed by opposing players and managers, and the unfriendly atmosphere that existed in part of that clubhouse. Now, Leo DeRocher made great impact on Jackie Robinson by standing in front of Jackie Robinson and telling Brooklyn Dodger players who had signed a petition in 1947 they wouldn't play with him. Either you take your name off that petition or we'll make sure we'll trade you out of here. And they traded a whole bunch of guys to last place Pittsburgh and last place Boston in the aftermath. DeRocher doesn't get enough credit for really being a compatriot with Jackie Robinson. And then what Robinson did from a business standpoint, a social value, political standpoint, once he retired as quickly as he did. So I just, he was a hell of a man. Never got the chance to interview him. Saw him one time in person. I interviewed his wife, Rachel Robinson. She was a kind lady. And she talked a bit. And then this was in the early days when I was on Extra 690. I interviewed Rachel just about Jackie and what this experience was like. And she talked some, not as much. I interviewed Carl Erskine, who has just passed away, legendary Brooklyn Dodger pitcher. I interviewed Clem Labine. And they talked more realistically about how tense it was, how hard it was in the clubhouses, in the dugouts, on the field. And of course, the movie 42 about Jackie Robinson, there are a lot of true factors in there of how this team came together around him as they realized what a great player he was. And some, including Pee Wee Reese, really understood what he was going through emotionally. So I think just a monumentally great person with unbelievable impact on baseball, but I think in the bigger factor, unbelievable impact on baseball society. So that's the Jackie Robinson story. There's a sidebar story to Jackie Robinson Day. Rob Manfred, the commissioner who's created a lot of special things around the salute to Jackie Robinson, just indicating that he is not going to accede to what the White House wants, that Trump wants changes in the way baseball deals with Jackie Robinson. And Manfred, if I were to quote in between the lines of what he indicated, we're not changing baseball to please that guy. We have our values. And Manfred is upset about the whole DEI thing. He's obviously upset about what the White House tried to do on the Department of Defense website, deleting Jackie Robinson's military and baseball career from that website. And then there was a big uproar, and they all brought it back. And Manfred refused to take a stance on the Dodgers going to the White House to be honored. There's been an unbelievable amount of reaction to that, some pro and some con. But at the end of the day, Major League Baseball says we're not changing the way we're doing our business because Donald Trump is trying to delete the success of African Americans in our game or in society. So what does Jackie Robinson mean to you? You want to talk about Manfred versus Trump? Go ahead.
You know, obviously, a socially impactful story, everything about Jackie Robinson. But this morning I was flipping through my Facebook feed and I stumbled across this clip on the David Letterman show of Buck O'Neill.
Yes.
And apparently Jackie played for the Kansas City Monarchs in 1945.
Before he signed the minor league contract with the Montreal Royals.
Yeah, exactly. So Buck was telling this story about how they were in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was very segregated then, and they had gone to a filling station and they were in a big bus and they filled up, one tank of gas, 50 gallons, another tank of gas, 50 gallons. They went and paid for it. The gentleman at the filling station said, "Thank you very much." And then Jackie Robinson said, "Excuse me, I'd like to use your restroom." And that was a whites only restroom. And the guy at the filling station says, "Boy, where do you think you're going? And you can't use that." And then Jackie Robinson said, he goes, "If you won't let me use that, then we will kindly return the 50-gallon tank and the other 50-gallon tank of gasoline." And then he said, "Well, young man, you just go ahead and use the restroom. Just be quick about it." And as Jackie Robinson got back on the bus, Buck O'Neill said that he taught them a very valuable lesson, that the Negro Leagues were bringing business into these cities and they were bringing their dollars. They're just as green as the next guys. And that it was actually capitalism that was something that was special here in this case that kind of gets over a lot of this abject racism.
And that was pictured obviously as in part of the movie 42 in the Jackie Robinson movie that had been released just a couple years ago.
Nice.
Just his accomplishments as an individual, doing it by himself. That's the most amazing thing. Not everybody on the Brooklyn Dodger dugout was pro Jackie Robinson. There were a lot of Southerners on the Brooklyn Dodger roster from Alabama and Mississippi, and they were flat out racists. Not everybody agreed, but Branch Rickey told them, "You don't want to be here with Jackie Robinson? We'll do everything we can to get you out of here." And he did.
Yeah,
he
good on
moved
those
guys
guys.
out of it. So you're a baseball fan, historian, got an opinion on Jackie Robinson? Feel free to jump on board. Let's quickly move to some other baseball notes. Colorado Rockies. This is really tough. This is really sad because he was a really good ball player. Talking about Chris Bryant. He's back on the disabled list again with more back problems. He's got a disc infection. He's had chronic back problems. 9th time he's been on the Rockies disabled list. They hope they have him back within a month, but this back problem keeps flaring. He's had like 6 different injuries, wrist, calves, hamstring, knees, etc., in addition to it now become a chronic back situation. Hit 154. He's a shell of the guy who was with the Cubs. And it's really sad because he was a really, really good ball player. Of course, he's a former USD star. They paid him $182 million, and he's hardly been able to play over the last 4 years because he just has these chronic injuries. So he has gone back on the disabled list. And poor Bud Black, his team is 3-15, just terrible. Chicago Cubs, not only are they not a real good defensive team right now, not only are they not hitting with men on base, now they lose the ace of their pitching staff, or maybe the second ace of their pitching staff. Justin Steele is going to undergo his second Tommy John surgery probably within the next week. He becomes the 14th pitcher since the start of spring training to have surgery, and he's going to be gone another 12 to 14 months. We don't know if it's going to be a full second Tommy John replacement or whether it's going to be the newly found brace procedure, which might maybe sidelines him for 8 months rather than 14 months, but just a terrible blow to them. New York Mets. How's life going for Juan Soto? If you look down the averages of all the guys in baseball, just keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Come on. He's hitting 230.
Wow.
How's that investment worked out so far? Now it's early. It's young, but he's hitting 230. Not hit very many home runs for the Mets at Citi Field. He's starting to get some criticism from the New York media. And we know one thing. There's a lot of New York media, and we know they are critical. Last note, White Sox have removed Mike Clevinger from their roster rotation, have DFA'd him, 7.94 ERA. His career has just exploded. I don't know how much of this has got to do with this neck surgery that he had a year ago or shoulder issues. He's just not the same pitcher that that he was before. So, he was part of a whole collection of guys that the Cleveland Indians developed.
Mhm.
They all thought they were going to arrive there simultaneously and be really good, and they were. Him, Trevor Bauer, Justin Bieber. There were
No, Justin Bieber is the singer, I
not
think.
the singer, but there were
Shane Bieber.
Shane Bieber. There were 4 or 5 of them all arrived at the same time, and I thought Cleveland's really going to be good for a while. All these pitchers come through the system, and they're all gone. They're either on the DL, or they're off major league rosters, or they're out of baseball. And Clevenger is the latest of that group that just physically break down. It really goes to show how unstable the pitching world is. As good as you could be, as many as you may have stockpiled, they can all fall apart on you.
Yeah.
So anyhow, a really sad story for Chris Bryant. Good dude, just bad luck.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's a curse for him, and it's awful. Because he played here locally, but this just reinforces the Dick Monfort problem in Colorado, where he's going to be gun shy to spend money on another free agent, and so their Denver fans are going to have crap product for a long, long time. Tough for the Cubs. The Mets thing, the Soto hitting like 230 or 240, it was kind of like how he hit for the Padres for most, not all of his tenure here, but most of it. So
most of that first year.
Yeah, exactly. So. Soto is a great player, but sometimes he kind of makes your head scratch.
So all things baseball, feel free, jump on board. Do want to hear from somebody about the whole Jackie Robinson situation and Manfred's response to what the White House is attempting to do. Feel free to participate. That's why the Fans Forum chat box is now open for you to get on, get in line, get your comments on the air when we're done. That's baseball. And now we're going to the next big thing. Here comes the NFL.
The NFL, people are already bagging on you for the political comments.
Don't care. National Football League. This is the final week of workouts, individual meetings, teams, and players. It ends on Saturday. Let's just walk through the laundry list of names. Shedeur Sanders is like a cement block. You throw a cement block into the water, and it sinks. There are now scouting combine mock drafts that no longer have Shedeur Sanders in the top 10. There's one that has him dropping all the way to 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think the longer this has gone, the worse it's gotten for him and the way he's acted. Now, Sanders changed his mind at the last minute because he was boycotting individual meetings and workouts. His response a week and a half ago was, "You got 4 years of my tape. Just go watch that. Don't need to throw in front of you. Don't need to talk to you. Just go watch my tape." Well, you do need to sit and talk to the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And what's the negative if you can make all the plays to having a private workout? He changed his mind today in Boulder, Colorado this morning. He had a private workout for the New York Giants, but this is after all this other damage has been done. He's not going to be pick 1. It does not look like he's going to be 2 or 3. And all those other teams don't need quarterbacks right after that. His candidacy has really dropped. I mean, the fact that he's slid at least to 9 and a couple of mock drafts have him slipping into the 20s, absolutely amazing. One that's really risen, and this is kind of hard to explain. Taylor SHOUGH was a quarterback at Oregon, went to Texas Tech, and then wound up at Louisville and played really well at Louisville by himself. Didn't have a good team around him. Big, stay in the pocket, kind of like a Joe Flacco type guy. Stay in the pocket, strong arm. And his stock has gone up to the point some people are of the opinion he might be taken at the back end of the first round, or he might be the first quarterback that goes into the second round. Jalen Milroe, Alabama. This kid had a tremendous sophomore season under Nick Saban. Started pretty well under Kalen DeBoer this past football season, and then fell apart at midseason and just was terrible at the end. And anyhow, he's kind of rebuilt his resume through private meetings, and he's done all the throwing sessions. He's done all the private workouts. He's climbed to the back end of the first round, or maybe very early in the second round. There are now some teams that are really looking hard at Milroe from Alabama, not to come in and play immediately, but they think there's great upside there. And the other one is the kid out of Syracuse, Kyle McCord, 6'3", stay-at-home pocket guy, gun for an arm, led the country, threw for almost 4,800 yards for the Orange last year as a one-year starter after transferring out of Ohio State. And he's had really good workouts. Now, only concern, because I've watched video of him and I followed him, he does throw an awful lot of interceptions. And that's just a case of young guy always trying to go down the field, make plays, etc. But boy, he threw for a ton of yards at Syracuse. So McCord has now positioned himself maybe to be a second rounder, if not the top of the third round. So it's always a quarterback draft, but this year, John, it does not look like it's going to be. I went back and did a rundown of 5 of the top mock drafts that I pay attention to. The general consensus is of the top 32 picks, first round, 18 of the 32 are going to be defensive players. 6 are going to be offensive linemen. So that means 24 of 32 are not quarterbacks. There's going to be 1 running back. There's going to be 3 receivers. That's what the first round is going to be. It's absolutely stunning because this is a quarterbacks league, and you would normally think quarterbacks and skill guys would eat up a lot of the first round. Doesn't seem that way. I mean, I was shocked to see 24 of the first 32 picks are there going to be on the defensive side of the football or be somebody's offensive tackle, offensive guard. That's kind of interesting. So you want to talk about Shedeur dropping like a cement block or these other names rising up? Go ahead.
I could just picture you like with the mafia throwing Shedeur Sanders over the bridge. But you had, remember we speculated that Shedeur Sanders might go to the Raiders at 6. But now I think the Raiders are looking beyond him, right? I mean, they're going to commit to Geno Smith, and so, yeah, once you get beyond the Raiders, the next team that needs a quarterback, is it the
it might be New Orleans at 9 because of this Derek Carr controversy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But that's not a guarantee that it's him, that it's going to be Shedeur, because he didn't work out for the Saints either. Do you think Shedeur's handled this thing right or wrong?
Well, at first, we think it's 4D chess, that Dion was scheming and he was trying to get his son to the team of his preference. But I don't know if this is really working out that way. He seems like he's pissing people off left and right. So I don't get it. What about the other kid, Jackson Dart? Is he somewhere in this list?
He's in that mixed bag, and some people think he might be taken ahead of Sanders, but others say, well, he threw for a lot of yards in Lane Kiffin's offense, but is he a complete quarterback coming out of Ole Miss? I think Dart is like Shuck is like MILROE. They've got different strengths. They're all probably going to be second-round draft picks. I'm not sure which one's going to be a star. I've heard more positive things about Shuck than I've heard about any of the others, and I have just huge questions about the immediate impact of MILROE, but he's such a great athlete. People of the opinion that could be another Lamar Jackson, but not right now, not next season, but down road.
Well, just a little bit of a tangent. You might already have this plan, but we're talking about the NFL draft. You got a plan coming up on Monday, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just promoted. We're going to do our draft preview is going to be Monday at 1:30.
Yeah, well, we need to promote it specifically in this segment, because it's going to live on its own, this segment. And I want people to know about Our Lads.
Yeah, Our Lads Draft Guide. John Cooper, their draft editor, will be with us again on the live stream, and we'll break down each of the positions in the draft in the first round, the guys that he likes, because they scout these guys. They do it differently than a lot of everybody else. So, and then we'll talk about his mock draft. But he'll be with us, NFL Draft Preview, Monday, 1:30, Our Lads Draft Guide. Okay, we go from that. Next topic on the table, this involves football too.
Yeah, college football. I get it. Tennessee is in the news for sure.
Well, let's talk about this story because this has really become a toxic story. Tennessee's star quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, left school the day before spring football. He and his handlers and his father went to Tennessee and demanded his NIL money be upgraded, like doubled. And Tennessee's coach Josh Heupel said no. And the young man said, if you cannot take care of me financially, I'm going to exit. At which point, Josh Heupel said, relationship over. Mm-hmm. No one person, player nor coach, is bigger than this program. Gone. And it spread like an oil fire. All of a sudden, this kid started making phone calls. He thought he was going to Oregon. Dan Lanning said, no, I have all my quarterbacks here. He thought he was going to USC. Lincoln Riley said, no, we're not interested at this point. He tried to make contact at North Carolina, where Bill Belichick said, no, we're not taking on this situation, this kid demanding an enormous amount of money. He had the balls to call Notre Dame. Notre Dame did not even return the phone call.
Wow.
He tried to talk to Sarkisian at Texas. Reputation precedes his kid in the front door. And suddenly everybody around college football is of the opinion he has no market and he's not going to get the kind of money he was going to get at the University of Tennessee. And the kid has really damaged himself. Last night, it was reported that UCLA is talking to him. And UCLA, which has got its own set of problems under Deshaun Foster, with so many coaches being fired 9 months into their first year with that UCLA coach and UCLA losing players, UCLA may take him, but he's not going to get the kind of money because he's a California kid who's now bouncing back coming from home. But I mean, this is quite a story that Tennessee lets their star freshman quarterback walk away. The coach told him, that is the door. If you go into the portal, you're not part of this program. And then all these other named coaches around the country almost expressing the same opinion. We're not touching the situation with the demand, holding out for more money, going back on his word in a signed contract. This is quite a story. So some people of the opinion what Tennessee did was right to try to get some control back under this out of control NIL situation. So we got that story. Colorado, we've talked extensively about Dion. Talked about Shedeur. Get this. Colorado tomorrow is holding its spring football workout. They're retiring Shedeur Sanders' number as well as the number of
Travis Hunter,
their Heisman Trophy winning cornerback. It begs the question, what the hell did Colorado win in the 2 years that Shedeur was there? Did he set passing records? Yeah, but they threw the ball on every down. Did they win any? Did they get ranked? You're going to retire his number after 2 years compared to what Cordell Stewart and Darian Hagan did back in the day under Bill McCartney and other coaches when Colorado won the Big 12 and Colorado went to major bowl games? There's been some backlash at Dion. He's retiring his kid's number after 2 years. That's kind of offended some people. And then there's North Carolina. Now, we've talked about the 72-year-old coach dating a 24-year-old woman, and his partner is on the practice field with him every day.
Awesome. His
partner has become his CEO of his media empire, and his partner, Jordan is her first name, is evidently clashing with the university about content on different websites. And Belichick has taken a lot of heat, taken a lot of hits, because Belichick is kind of old school, and Belichick has gone into the transfer portal and said, I'm not paying this amount of money to you to be my left tackle or you to be my quarterback. He's kind of aghast at what the landscape of the NCAA has become. So he's taken a lot of heat from alums and fans on social media, including some of the university's websites. So his partner is raising hell with the university about not controlling what's out there on social media. Well, how does North Carolina be able to control what a student body was? So this is really, really bizarre. Really sad story at LSU. Wide receiver, Caden Lacey, was involved in a hit-and-run fatality accident in Louisiana a couple of months ago, was charged with vehicular homicide, was involved in a domestic abuse case with a gun, and his girlfriend this past weekend fired a gun in that direction of that woman, fled as police arrived, police chase, crashed his car. As police were coming to get him out of the car, pulled a gun, shot himself in the head. Kid has obviously had severe mental health problems, just a terrible tragedy. I think the thing that's really bothersome to me is here is Brian Kelly, the coach at LSU. Thoughts and prayers to his family. You knew this kid had all these kind of problems, and yet you let him play and never helped him at all. And this kid was involved in this junk off the field with the death of a 78-year-old man and a speeding incident, and now the second incident involving domestic abuse, and a kid took his own life. Brian Kelly's got a responsibility. They're with these players every minute of every day. They knew who has it together. They know who's got problems. He did nothing for this kid. And it's the second time there's been an incident with a player that Brian Kelly's had where this coach has not reached out to try to help this player. So it's a really sad story at LSU. Really wretched story at Kent State in the Mid-American Conference. They fire their coach, Kenny Burns. Not because he was just 1-23 in 2 years. He was the one that replaced Sean Lewis, who left to go to Colorado, now the Aztecs coach. Kenny Burns got bad product on the field and lost a lot of players, etc. Kenny Burns ran up $23,000 in debt on a private university credit card and refused to pay it. The bank in Kent, Ohio, sued the coach and the university over lack of payment. And this thing had really gotten ugly. He finally paid it. They found out, though, what he was using the money for, $23,000. He ran up in debts off the field, non-football stuff. Didn't pay it off the credit card bill, so he got fired. That's an utter disaster there. And Oklahoma, get this, in the first 2 days of the transfer portal opening this week, Wednesday and Thursday, 6,200 players in the transfer portal in college football. 6,200. Yes.
Holy crap.
That's right. There are other adjectives that are being used besides that. Anyhow, Oklahoma just wound up with a top running back that's fired into the portal. Jaden Ott, star running back, Cal Golden Bears, kind of a one-man gang in a tough football program in what's left of the Pac-12. He had 3,200 yards, 31 touchdowns in 2.5 seasons. He's the first big name who has transferred. Jaden Ott has gone to Oklahoma. John, I know you got opinions. You're just waiting to just jump on Tennessee or retired numbers or Belichick and the Babe or Brian Kelly, the mess at Kent State or Oklahoma. Go ahead. The podium is yours.
There's a lot there, So
damn right there is.
Yeah, damn right. So just a couple of quick ones. The Tennessee quarterback situation is interesting because the transfer portal has been the wild, wild west, and anything goes. And now the players are starting to see that there are limits to the leverage that they have. And this is good. It's a little bit of a pushback, a little bit of a self-regulation here. And I applaud some of those coaches for not taking him on, knowing how he left, his Tennessee in the lurch right before spring ball. I mean, to me, it's good to see that. Quickly, the others, Colorado, good on them for retiring numbers. I mean, Colorado's been in the dumps forever, but even if you go back to like Rashad Salam, they had a nice run there with him. But, I don't have a problem with that. And yeah, it's nepotism, but it's Coach Prime, and I like what Coach Prime does. And the North Carolina thing with Bill Belichick, it sounds like Yoko Ono and the Beatles or something, it's kind of intruding on business that she shouldn't be intruding on.
She's walking on the sidelines in spring football in a mini skirt and high leather boots on a cell phone while Belichick's coaching. It's a strange look.
Well, it's a shiny object, right? It's going to be a distraction, especially for those young men on the field. So, but I don't know. You got to say right on Bill Belichick is, I mean, he's Bill Belichick, man. What do they call him? Big Boss Man in that one commercial, and then the LSU story is just really sad,
yep.
And I remember seeing how he obviously made some big mistakes in his life, and then to take his own life. I mean, yeah, there needs to be more help there, but you got to think as a coaching staff, keeping track, they have like 100, maybe more than 100, students or athletes on the team.
Yeah, but who's an honor student. Who came from a bad background. Who's having mental health problems. You need to reach out. And these coaching staffs is not a head coach and 4 assistants. These guys got 18 assistants and player personnel people and counselors. I mean, this is a terrible tragedy. And this has happened again and again to players who have been in Brian Kelly's program.
Yeah. It's just strange. And then, finally, the Kent State thing. $23,000 on credit card fees. I mean, it could have been a lot worse, but if he's spending this on personal stuff, then why wouldn't he just pay it? Is he denying that the charges were legit?
No,
or
he finally did pay it.
Or is he arguing that the university needs to cover it, even if it's his own credit card for personal travel or something?
Like 14 to 16 months in the rear. He wasn't paying it, and they kept getting notifications, and the university told him to pay it. He never paid it. They finally paid it and they fired him. I think there's a lot more deeper stuff as to where this money went and what he spent it on. But at the end of the day, he's done. And they were 1-23. What a disaster that is.
It is. You hate to see a guy go out that way, but college coaches are like, surrogate fathers for a lot of these players. They got to be, presenting a good role model, right? And this guy's clearly failed.
Okay, all things, that's college football. You got an opinion about the Tennessee situation? Has Nico become the poster boy for everything that's wrong in college athletics right now vis-a-vis the NIL and the transfer portal? How about that? And if you're a UCLA fan, all these other marquee name coaches won't touch this guy. He's toxic. And UCLA is going to add him to their football program. Is there anybody who's a UCLA fan, friend, alum got a problem with that?
They need help.
That's why the Fans Forum chat box is there. Express an opinion on some of the hot topics that we're putting on the table. Last segment before we get to halftime here. NFL Notebook.
Yeah, NFL Notebook. Lots of football today.
Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. His Kirk Cousins story just keeps taking on different dimensions. Veteran quarterback, big money free agent signing, lost his job. Michael Penix replaced him at a $10 million roster bonus that the Falcons paid. He now counts $37.7 million. He wants out. And Atlanta is willing to shop him, but clubs are telling the Atlanta Falcons, oh, we'll take him if you want to release him. You eat the contract. Well, Atlanta doesn't want to do that. Oh, we'll take him. We want you to pay half the $37 million you owe him for this 2025 season. Atlanta's balking at that. So Atlanta's really positioned themselves into a really bad situation. They believe in Michael Penix. Cousins is 37 years of age. Other clubs might be willing to take a flyer on him, but they're not going to take on the contract. Atlanta's got a big problem there. New Orleans' problem with Derek Carr. I'm not sure what you believe. Left hand says Derek Carr needs shoulder surgery, could miss the entire season. Took a restructured contract to help them with a salary cap problem. Right hand says Derek Carr wants out of there. The Derek Carr wants to be released. He doesn't care if New Orleans is going to take a salary cap hit. So this is an unresolved story. New Orleans needs a quarterback. They do have the 9th pick on the draft. Might Shedeur Sanders be the landing spot there? Cleveland. He finally came out of the shadows. Deshaun Watson. I don't know that I can buy this nor that I can believe this, but Deshaun Watson of the opinion, I'm going to rehab this torn Achilles tendon and I will be back and I will play better. Well, he hasn't played very well in 3 years, coming off the suspensions after the Browns got him. He has a cap hit. If Cleveland wanted to rid themselves of him, they take an $82 million cap hit. If they're going to release him after June 1st, the cap hit gets split over 2 years. It'd be $41 million each season. Watson is of the opinion, I'm going to play in Cleveland again. He's the only one that I know that has that opinion. In Cincinnati, the Bengals, historically cheap, are screwing their pass rushing specialist Trey Fredrickson. Now, the Bengals finally, because Joe Burrow's just beat him up publicly, spent the money to extend out the contracts and pay state-of-the-art money to Jamar Chase and to their other wide receiver, but T. Higgins. But they have not re-signed Fredrickson. He's got 1 year to go on his contract. Kid's got 35 sacks in 2 seasons on a bad Cincinnati defense, and he's one of the most underpaid defensive ends. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He asked to be traded. They can't find anybody that wants to take on a contract of a 31-year-old guy. That's because they're asking number 1 draft pick. This is a real standoff. They don't get this solved. I bet he doesn't start the season in Cincinnati. I think he will stand on his standards. I am a great pass rusher. You owe me for what I've done the last 2 seasons. And in Pittsburgh, where everybody's got an opinion, some of it valid, some of it invalid, Pittsburgh is barking at the leadership of the Steelers. They've opened contract extension talks with TJ Watt, their superstar linebacker, pass rushing quarterback sack artist. He's asking for $40 million a season on an extension going forward. He's a great player. But the Steelers are asking the question, you're not spending money on the most important position in the NFL. Go get us a quarterback. Go spend your money on a quarterback. Go sign proven commodity Aaron Rodgers. Don't sales pitch us Mason Rudolph. We're going to win with him. And by the way, we don't have the running back any longer because he's gone to the Chargers. Steeler fans are going crazy. Yeah, they love TJ Watt. We're going to pay T.J. Watt $40 million and have Mason Rudolph at your quarterback because there's nobody else there. Pittsburgh fan not happy for a whole wide variety of reasons. John, go ahead, solve the problems in the NFL there. You know, you have an opinion on everything.
I do. The Steelers, I sometimes I think that they're scheming. They must have something up here because they need a quarterback, yet they've been, getting rid of the guys that they had. Maybe, do you think that Kirk Cousins might go to Pittsburgh? I mean, if you're the Steelers, would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins?
Well, if I'm the Steelers, I wouldn't mind having Kirk Cousins, but I don't want Kirk Cousins at $37 million. I'm not giving Atlanta a second-round pick or a third-round pick for a 37-year-old quarterback. By the way, if Atlanta wants to take a third-round or a fourth-round pick and they're willing to pay half the 37, maybe I'll talk to them. Or maybe I'll just sit there and wait if Atlanta eats the contract and cuts him, and he's a street free agent, and I can rent him like I did last year when I rented Justin Fields. I don't think it's the correct way to do business. But Pittsburgh's sitting there at 21. I think this is a week out ahead of our NFL draft preview show, but I think Pittsburgh will take a quarterback in the second round. It might be MILROE. It might be SHOUGH from Louisville, who a lot of people think he's kind of like a Ben Roethlisberger. I think they'll take a quarterback in the second round because at 21, unless Shedeur falls to them, but that's a long way to fall. But again, cement block theory. Yeah, you could sink in the water and go down to 21. I think they'll get a quarterback, either Sanders at 21 or more likely in the second round of the draft. They got to do business better. They don't have a quarterback. It's a quarterback's league.
Yeah, I don't know if the Dion, Coach Prime Shedeur thing is going to work with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. That's a tricky one. But we all saw the problem coming last year in the draft when Atlanta, spent all that money on Cousins and then drafted Penix Jr.
Yeah.
And we knew this was going to happen. And now, Atlanta is going to probably end up getting stung with the contract or not get full value. It's going to be horrible.
I can't say Atlanta opening camp with him still on the contract. The veteran wants to play. He's an amazing individual. I mean, he's had a nice career, puts up phenomenal yards. He's made so much bleeping money. He hasn't won anything over the course of his career. But, boy, what paydays he's had. And now he's got another payday in Atlanta.
Well, we talk about the teams like Pittsburgh, the Jets, the Giants that need quarterbacks. We were talking about the Raiders maybe as one of those teams. But there aren't a lot of open slots, right, where there's a big quarterback competition. So where else could Kirk Cousins land?
Standing next to Aaron Rodgers. Where's Aaron Rodgers going to land? So you got two guys right there. If I'm an NFL team and I'm close to being really good, I rent Aaron Rodgers because you can get him at a much lower price
than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. Unless Kirk Cousins gets bought out, but Atlanta doesn't want to eat that contract. They've positioned themselves into a tough situation. Okay, all things National Football League. You want to react to some of those stories on the board? Feel free to jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials. You want ideas, they can be your consultant. I do recommend you go to DIXIELINE.com because, John, it's more than just a lumber company. Just run through what's on the lineup card that DIXIELINE has to offer.
Yeah, lumber, building materials, paint, electronics. Yeah, like lights and electric fixtures, power tools. What else? Hardware. I mean, they've got everything there. Doors, windows, decking, kitchen and bath cabinets and countertops. I mean, really, if you're a homeowner, if you're a contractor or a builder, they got everything you need. And if you're a contractor or builder, they'll kind of help you out, set you up with your own personalized account, kind of assist you in getting your orders filled on a timely basis. So they're a great partner in San Diego, DIXIELINE Lumber.
Go to the website, DIXIELINE.com. Just see what they have to offer. This podcast also brought to you by Our Lads Draft Guide. If you like the National Football League, if you like college football, we're inviting you to subscribe. It's easy, but just go to their website, ourlads.com. You can fill out the subscription. They will get you their draft book, their draft guide in the mail before the draft begins next Thursday. These are special people. Not only do they have the breakdown of all the lists, they have obviously here, listing of all the positions in college football and the ranking of every player in college football. Then in the back of this book, they also have the depth charts and the rosters of every NFL team and what their needs are. You can use this as a possession that's great for the entire football season. It's Our Lads Draft Guide. Go to ourlads.com. You can place your order. And by the way, speaking of the draft, John Cooper, their draft editor, will be with us Monday at 1:30 for our NFL draft preview. He was a big hit when he was with us last year, so we'll walk through all the top players. That's ourlads.com. Plain and simple. On this podcast, we do sports talk the way it should be done.
That's right.
Plain and simple. When we're done, we open it up to Fans Forum. John, for everybody who's new on this live stream, just explain how the Fans Forum chat box works.
It's unbelievable. These people in the chat right now are just all over this. So yeah, if you got a question or comment in the world of sports about Jackie Robinson Day or the NFL draft or the NBA or NHL playoffs, just drop your hot take in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum. And I'll tell you what, they're bursting at the seams already.
I think there's a few people out there with a few opinions. By the way, if you like sports, I write about it every day on my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. It's there. It's free. There's nothing in the bloody world that's free, but my website and this podcast is free. Check it out. Think you'll really enjoy it. On the homepage, the front page of my website, there's a big orange box. You can join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. That will get you on our email list because we put a lot of stuff out on a day-by-day basis. You're on social media. I want you to join my Hacksaw Twitter's All-Star team. Just go to @Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button. That way, when I put things up on X, you'll know all about it. Want you to share. Tell everybody we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe on the YouTube channel and the other platforms, you'll get the alerts every time John or I put something up because we do load a lot of videos during the course of the week onto our YouTube channel. You like social media? We're everywhere. Tell everybody. By the way, give us a thumbs up. It really helps us. Give us a 5-star rating. We don't have very many friends. We'll take the 5-star rating too. That cover it all?
It just never gets old. It's funny. All right.
Okay. All this. Don't forget Monday, 1:30 NFL draft preview. John, let's move on. We've covered baseball. We've covered football. Damn, there's a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, the playoffs. And they've already started with the play-in games in the NBA.
Yeah. Let's talk about what's going to happen because on Saturday at 12:30 and then Saturday night, the Lakers and the Clippers start NBA playoff basketball. The Lakers open with the Minnesota Timberwolves in their first round best-of-7 series. This is going to be great. You got Luka and you got LeBron and you got Austin Reeves, and this will probably be a three-point shooting display because that's how the Lakers, I think, are going to win against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, there's no doubt that Minnesota is really good. Anthony Edwards is just as explosive as can be, offensively and with his mouth. They also play really great perimeter defense. They got Julius Randle. They got the big guy that might be as good a rim protector as anybody in the NBA and Rudy Gobert. I don't know that they've got enough depth, but I'll tell you what, they do defend the hell out of you. It's going to be interesting to see what Minnesota havoc they can cause defensively because they'll come out and get you on the perimeter. How they're going to defend Luka and LeBron because those guys will be stressed to get into their offense. And then, by the way, they're going to try to get to the hoop and get to the paint, and there's Rudy Gobert knocking things down all over the place. From the Lakers' perspective, I think they're going to be able to slow Anthony Edwards down. I think the burning question, are the Lakers going to get productivity from the rest of the bench aside from their big three, or do the Lakers just make it a three-point shooting contest, and here we go. Second game, going to be good. This is the Clippers against that team that was a champion just a couple years ago, the Denver Nuggets. This Clipper team has really come together. That's Harden. That's Kawhi Leonard. That is Nick Powell. That's Zubac, who I think is the most underrated big in the league. And then it's a bench bunch that plays well and shoots three. This is a collective roster that is finally healthy and playing really well. How well? The Clippers have won 18 of their last 21 in the most important time of the season when they were fighting for their playoff lives. And they went from being on the periphery of being a play-in team to being in 5th place in the final standings. Now, Denver's got the Joker. There's no doubt that Jokic, Mr. Triple-Double, is spectacular. And they got Jamal Murray back healthy, but how healthy is he? How long does he hold up? And, how healthy is he to be able to play 40 minutes? They got Michael Porter, who can be good, can be hot, can be cold. And they got the wild card in the whole thing is which Russell Westbrook shows up to play. The volatile Russell Westbrook who makes plays offensively and defensively, or the guy that pouts and gets distracted and kind of self-destructs. They don't play a hell of a lot of defense in Denver. I think the Clippers are going to win this series. They're going to hit the eject button on the Denver Nuggets. I just think this is going to be a great first-round pair of matchups. There will be other series that we'll talk about going forward, but I'll tell you, Lakers-Minnesota intrigues me because Minnesota can be defensively mean, and the Clippers, I just think, have lots of firepower in a run-and-gun series with Denver. And John Riley says,
I say that I agree with you. I think the Clippers are going to likely win this series because there's been all that drama in Denver, with the coach gone and all the other stuff. But the Lakers series, I'm still not sure what we're going to get. Like sometimes they're great and sometimes they're confused out there on the court. And, they're playing the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves have talent. But since they've been an expansion team, I don't think they've ever made the NBA Finals, have they? So they've always sort of been in that sort of a up, the top of the map in the sort of the corner of the world.
It all started with the Kevin Garnett era, and it's gone through a lot of different alliterations, but it's never gotten a championship.
Yeah, I think you have to go back to when the Lakers were there in Minneapolis. So this will be an interesting series. Yeah, again, Lakers are just a crapshoot. I just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, because the Lakers have had great nights, and then there are nights where Luka is 6 for 19. And there's nights in which they don't rebound, they don't play defense.
Yeah.
So I think they can win this. It probably turns out to be a Laker 3-point shooting contest because I think that's how they're going to be able to score because I don't know they're going to be able to pound the ball inside with Rudy Gobert there deflecting shots, etc. It's a weird series, but the Clippers look like a complete basketball team to me.
Yeah, and I'm just stay healthy, Kawhi.
Lakers, Clippers fans, jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that to what's been a pretty interesting week in college basketball in this town.
Yeah, a lot of transfer portal action going on.
Let's talk about San Diego State. That man is brilliant. That man knows everybody. That man is trusted by a lot of people. Talking about Brian Dutcher. Brian Dutcher goes into the marketplace and gets 2 more guys to transfer in. Gets a leading scorer, 6'3" guard, 2 years eligibility left from San Jose State. That's a pretty good player, Latrell Davis. He's going to come in and he's going to stroke and he's going to give him points that they didn't get consistently in the backcourt last season. Comes from San Jose State. Then he gets a decommit from USC, a 6'5" wingman, LZ Harrington, St. John Bosco, averaged 16 points a game in high school, jumper, leaper. Kid comes from great family background, came home, decided to stay close to home because his dad, who's a medical professional, is dying of brain cancer. Kid's got great values. Kid's a great player. Harrington comes on board. This comes on the heels of the recruitment of the 6'9" kid from Wyoming, Jeremiah Oden, and obviously the point guard, the distributor, Sean Newman. That roster, if Guath stays, and I'm sure Miles Bird comes back, hell of a roster. Is basketball season open a week from now for San Diego State? So all things San Diego State, this has been a really good week for them. University of San Diego press conference next week. They're going to unveil their all-new basketball facilities. Hats off to them to get this thing done. At the same time, they've just announced a new program. It's called SDNIL.com. University of San Diego, awful late in the process, is finally launching fundraising through their alumni and hopefully what athletes they have who are in the professional ranks to try to build up their coffers for NIL money because they've been really deficient supporting football and obviously Steve Lavin in basketball. SDNIL.com. You get a chance. You're in San Diego. Check it out. There's got to be a way for this community to come rally, for that alumni to come support SDUSD. Toreros. It's SDNIL.com. And I hate to say this, I think University of San Diego is facing a life and death situation with college athletics. If they can't put money in that bank account to make them more competitive, I don't know how they stay competitive if they can't pay NIL money, because they don't have NIL money to pay. Now, they're no different than a lot of other people, but this program has really slipped in basketball, both men's and women. The bottom's fallen out in college baseball. Football's in a nondescript conference with no TV media deal. It's a tough set of circumstances. I think it's life and death at USD that they make this thing come together. John, your response to the Aztecs and the Toreros.
The Aztecs news is mind-blowing. They added all these new players in a short amount of time. I'm thinking, how in the heck are you going to fit them all on the roster? There's like 12 scholarship players that are all legit. So I'm just wondering if one of these new incomers might be thinking of, redshirting, or if Dutcher is worried that, Miles Bird or Magoon Guath might get drafted, because all the puzzle pieces is too many pieces.
You need players, and you're going to have injuries, and guys can redshirt. So he's got numbers. It's a hell of a lot better than somebody else who doesn't have any recruits signed and have lost virtually everybody. I mean, what's happened at USD, what's happened at UCSD, that's the exact polar opposite of where San Diego State is in terms of acquisitions, talent, depth, etc.
Well, I've seen like rosters from Indiana and Baylor. They're all gone. The whole team is graduated, transfer portal, or in the draft. So yeah, it's amazing that Dutcher's held this whole thing together. As far as USD is thinking, you had mentioned, maybe they're going to get help from some professional athletes that played there, but all the big name professional athletes I'm thinking of played baseball. They should call Chris Bryant. He's got a couple of $1 million laying around for sure. But it's nice to see them trying to build this up. But to your point, they're like a day late and $1 short.
Awful way behind the power curve in terms of formulating this. But they went through a change in leadership. I mean, they fired the athletic director, Bill McGillis, maybe a year and a half ago, and they're just way behind the power curve in terms of trying to get this thing up and running. They've got an assistant to the president there that I like. His name is Kai Snyder. He's been very influential.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Kai has really helped push this boulder to this point right now. But this SDNIL.com, this is hugely important, I think, for the future financial health of this athletic program.
It's interesting how NIL when we first thought of NIL, it was going to be like the local pizza shop would help like sponsor a kid. And then it's turned into these big donors and the big money. But it seems like a lot of the NIL money is coming from alumni,
exactly.
Right? It's not coming from the local businesses to the same degree that we thought it would. So, yeah, I mean, and that's why San Diego State, I mean, with all of their alumni, you think they'd be loaded. And USD has probably got a lot of very wealthy alumni.
Really behind the power curve, though.
Yeah.
But San Diego State, they have the Mesa Foundation, which was ahead of the curve in what they did in basketball. And now they're starting the 619 fund to help football. And that's had pretty good response. They still got a lot of work to do there to come up with more money. That's where we are. You're an Aztec fan. You follow USD. You went to USD. Feel free to join us, Fans Forum chat box. You got ideas? Feel free to jump on board, ask a question, make a statement. Last topic on the table. I bet the guys in the old Canada Network are ready to jump on this topic on the table.
Yeah, the NHL playoffs are starting, Lee.
They start on the weekend. Now we're gonna try to go through this very quickly. We're not going to preview each series. We're going to talk about the hot teams, which I think is really the big storyline. John, let's just look at what's here. Let's start on the right-hand side. This is on the Eastern Conference. Those are the Washington Capitals. 51 wins, 111 points on the season. The whole spotlight this season has been on Alexander Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's career goal-scoring record. Ovi's got 43 goals. Dylan Strome has had a really good season. Third guy in the equation, Tom Wilson, has become a complete hockey player. Big, tough guy. He's got 33 goals. Only concern I have about the Capitals is Logan Thompson good enough to be a red-hot goaltender in the playoffs? That, to me, is a big issue, I think, in Washington. Toronto Maple Leafs, 51 wins, 106 points in the standings. Austin Matthews was hurt for half the season. I scored 60 last year. He's only scored 32 this season. Austin Matthews is supplanted by Mitch Marner. He's helped, obviously, by John Tavares, who's got 38 goals. William Nylander has had back-to-back 40-goal seasons. Only question I have about the Maple Leafs, are they trustworthy in goal? Because I'm not really sure that they've got enough goals keeping to be a team and be able to get through 4 best-of-7 series. Next one down there on the right-hand side, Tampa Bay Lightning and then the Florida Panthers. That's going to be interesting. They play each other. The Sunshine State Brawl. They don't like each other. Tampa's really good. Nikita Kucherov led the league in scoring, not just in goals, but big assist man. Brian Hagel, Jake Gensel had 41 goals this season in Tampa. Braden Point is one of the best playoff performers we've seen. Tampa's really good. And by the way, they got Vasilevsky in goal, and he can get hot. Now, in terms of the Florida Panthers, they're going to get Matthew Tkachuk back. Now, remember, he got hurt in the Four Nations tournament. They have Sam Reinhart, they have Barkov, and they got a great goaltender also in Bobrovsky. The only burning question, how close to 100% is Matthew Tkachuk? So those are the marquee teams on the East. I got to believe Toronto is probably the one that survives if their goaltending holds up in the Eastern Conference playoffs. All right, let's go to the West. Winnipeg. Oh, Canada. I didn't see this coming. I don't think they saw this thing coming. Winnipeg Jets, 56 wins, 114 points. Winnipeg, President's Cup. You know what that means? Home ice every series. They won the President's Cup, which is the best overall record. Home ice in Winnipeg, any playoff series.
Oh, right on.
That is huge. Winnipeg's got Kyle Connors. That's 41 goals for him. Mark Scheifele had 38. And, of course, they got Connor Hellebuck. Best goaltender in the league, 2.02 goals against average. He won 47 games in the pipes for Winnipeg. Now, that's Dallas right next to them. That's a team that's pretty good, 50 wins, but they just lost one of their goal scorers last night on a cheap shot hit. Jason Robertson's been hurt off and on, down again. They don't know if he's going to be completely healthy. They do have Mikhail Ratnan, who came, of course, in the controversial trade from Carolina. They just got Tyler Seguin back. He, of course, recovered from hip surgery. That's a really good team. But now, if you don't have this goal scorer, Robertson, that's a big blow to Dallas. But they've played half their season with guys hurt. Las Vegas, not getting a lot of national recognition, but boy, they're good. They got 50 wins. Jack Eichel, Thomas Hertl, really good. They got 11 guys in Vegas who've scored 10 goals or more. A lot of balanced scoring. They don't have what I'd call our scary snipers in the Las Vegas lineup, but they got a bunch of grinders that do a really good job. Only question I have about Vegas, young goaltender. We saw him play down here in the American Hockey League against the San Diego Gulls. It's taken Aiden Hill a bit of time to become a star, but he's had a really good season. But playoffs, that's a different method of life. We'll see if Aiden Hill can hold up in goal for the Las Vegas. Let's talk about the other team, Colorado Avalanche. A lot of injuries during the course of the season. They got Nathan McKinnon, 116-point season for him. Cale Makar, maybe as good an offensive defenseman as there is in the league. The only question I have is their goaltending. Is it the right goaltending? Colorado does not have enough firepower outside of McKinnon. If you can check him into the ice and slow him down, maybe the Avalanche don't survive. We move on. LA Kings. They have arrived. This is a complete hockey team. An LA Kings team that is loaded with they got 31 home ice wins, 31-5-4. They play their final home game tonight against Calgary. This is Adrian Kempe, who's got 35 goals. It's Kevin Fiala's got 35 goals. This Anze Kopitar, the great veteran's got 21 goals and a whole bunch of assists. The big storyline nobody's talking about are the young guys. What Warren Fogle, who came from Edmonton, has meant to them, what Quentin Byfield has grown into. And they are 6 deep on defense. And they got the second best goaltender in the league in Darcy Kemper, who also has a 2.02 goals against average. This is a really good, deep Kings team. And it's pretty tough to go into Crypto.com Arena, their barn, and win on their ice. and the other one is Edmonton. And once upon a time, they were the most feared team in the West, and they're beat up. Now, they think Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl are going to be able to hold up and play in the best-of-7 series. These guys have been out with injuries. The burning question that I have as it relates to the Edmonton Oilers, and Draisaitl had 52 goals, and it has not been a big goal-scoring season for Connor McDavid. I have just questions about Stuart Skinner. This is not the goaltender that was red hot last year. And again, is this going to be another year where Edmonton has a great regular season and does not get to the Stanley Cup Finals? Because that suddenly has become the albatross that they're wearing around their neck, that they're really good, but they don't get to the finals. And the first rounds, my God, don't walk away from the TV this weekend. You got the Battle of Ontario. Maple Leafs don't like the Ottawa Senators. You got the Sunshine State fight, Tampa versus the Florida Panthers. You got Winnipeg, St. Louis, which is going to be a hell of a battle. St. Louis Blues finished up with a 12-game winning streak at the end of the season, even though Winnipeg has home ice. Blues are going to cause them some problems. Colorado, Dallas, I think, is an even Stevens slugfest. They're two really good teams. And then there's a history. LA Kings, Edmonton Oilers. Oilers eliminated the Kings 3 straight years in the first round. Payback. The Kings are going to have home ice for this series. John, Hockey Hotline. Those are the hottest teams. Those are the storylines to pay attention to, in one man's opinion. Go ahead, respond.
You know, it's one thing that's cool about the NHL playoffs. Besides, it's exciting, it's exhilarating, it's like a big step up amongst the over the regular season. But I just like learning more about some of these cities in Canada, you know, because as an American sports fan, I know all the NFL cities, but we're learning more about Calgary and Winnipeg. And then you see the fans out there supporting their team because they probably feel that their city, their community is relevant on the continental stage, you know. So I think it's great, you know, to see some of these teams, these cities have their big opportunity in the sun.
Oh, it's cool. And what ESPN and TNT have done on TV in terms of televising all these doubleheaders, it's phenomenal. I mean, the TV ratings are at an all-time high, and all these arenas are sold out. You can't get in. You know, if you watch the Battle of Ontario, you'll see obviously in Toronto sold out. But then they'll use the camera, go outside Maple Leaf Square. I swear to you, it'll be 2 blocks long of fans wearing Maple Leaf gear that are outside. I mean, that's what the NHL has become. So it's a long run. It's the toughest trophy in sport to go get. 4 best-of-7 series. If you're asking me at this hour who I think survives, this might be sacrilegious. Don Cherry will send me a Christmas card from Hockey Night in Canada. It would not stun me to see Maple Leafs, Winnipeg Jets in the Stanley Cup Finals. Hell, it's their game. They invented it. I'll let them have an all-Canada Stanley Cup Final. But the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs, somebody gets hot, somebody's goaltender gets hot, some unknown third-liner guy scores game-winning goals, a whole bunch of them. Somebody else shows up in the NHL Finals that you did not expect. But if you're asking me at this hour, I got the Winnipeg Jets and I got the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup Finals with an asterisk because things can change.
You know what's cool is that every series is a best-of-7.
Yep.
There's no like play-in game. There's no like, you know, one and done kind of a thing or a goofy little 3-game series.
You have to earn it.
You gotta legit, you gotta get there and earn it. But now you're an old-time Maple Leafs guy, and they haven't won the cup since the 60s, right?
1967. That was a few slap shots ago, yes.
So what seed are they? You're saying they're going to be in the Stanley Cup Final. What seed are they at?
Well, they're right behind Washington overall because Washington was in the East, was the number 1 seed. Maple Leafs are right there. Winnipeg, obviously, is number 1 in the West and number 1 with the President's Cup because they had the most wins, most points. So they get home ice advantage. But you're going to have to play somebody big somewhere along the way, too.
But an all-Canada final, I mean, that hasn't happened forever, right?
And this is the first time no U.S.-based or of the original 6 are in the finals or in the playoffs. No Rangers, no Islanders, no Boston Bruins,
Red Wings.
no Blackhawks, no Red Wings. I mean,
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, you got the two teams from Florida in there. You don't have the Red Wings. I mean, which is kind of odd. But I'll tell you what, we have a lot of fans of the podcast here that join us from Winnipeg. So I'm rooting for them. I hope they have success there.
They earned this.
Oh, yeah. And then, with the Kings are, sort of kind of local. They're a couple hours drive up the freeway from us.
They've been building for this and starting Saturday. Payback,
yeah. And I remember watching that series against the Oilers. And that was a tough series. And then the Vegas team, I'm interested in them because I want pro sports to be successful in Las Vegas. So I'm hoping the Golden Knights have a nice run. Obviously, they won the Cup a year or two ago, right? So there's a lot of different teams here that you can kind of connect with during this playoff season.
Hockey fans, Canada Network's invited to jump on board in the Fans Forum chat box. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Build it, fix it. We guarantee you'll enjoy it in 2025 if you work with DIXIELINE to get your home projects done. And by Our Lads Draft Guide. You like the NFL, you like college football, here comes the draft. Still time for you to place your order. Our Lads Draft Guide. Just go to ourlads.com, place your order. They'll get you your draft guide, the book, and the newsletters ASAP. And don't forget, program note, Monday, 1:30, our NFL draft preview. John Cooper, the draft editor of Our Lads, he's going to be with us on live stream. We're going to walk through the NFL draft board. John, we got a lot to cover, a lot of people with opinions. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. Fire away.
Okay, we're to start here with Matthew, and he's kind enough to, he uses the YouTube super chat feature, which you can, ask a question, make a comment, and throw a couple of dollars at it. Thank you, Matthew. He says, hey, went to Petco for the first time with my pod-loving girlfriend yesterday, and I have to say the parking permit situation is horrible. Park is amazing, though.
Well, it's really tough. If you can take the tram, if you can take the trolley, that helps you a great deal because then you can park out in the hinterlands. The cost of parking downtown is pretty outrageous on Padre game days. I've been there. I've done that. That is my credit card you're taking. I'm a little bothered by that. It is the cost of attending professional sports in person. I don't think there's any solution to it because you are the fan. This is the team we have. It's a pretty good team. We're charging you for this team. It's tough.
Well, it doesn't seem to slow people down on going to the game. I mean, they sold out on a Wednesday afternoon.
They went 40, 47, and 41 in 3 days.
Yeah, and the 47,000 one, I think, was the third overall, but that was the night they gave away those Aloha shirts.
Sure.
And it was the Cubs, which are probably a good draw. But, man, I mean, it's interesting hearing the national broadcasters talk about the electricity in Petco Park and how the fans are so behind them. And then just the aura of Fernando Tatis when he's out there on the field. And it's like he's got the swag. He's got everything, all that energy around him. I mean, it's just a place to be.
This team is playing really, really well as they go on the road to Houston. But, yeah, pricing, unfortunately, Matt, pricing's a little steep right now for a lot of people. Okay, thanks for being with us.
Okay,
move on.
Matt, let's just a quick follow-up from Matt. And he goes, hey, funny how you don't hear about SHOUGH anymore.
Well, that was never going to see the light of day, that lawsuit. It's going to be settled in arbitration. It's going to go away. The business of baseball is on the field. It's not in this family feud in the front office right now. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Carlos, talk some LA Lakers. Lakers. This team came together at the right time with veteran leadership provided by LeBron and Luka. The sky is the limit in the playoffs. Let's effing go purple and gold.
The only burning question, now we're going to start playing real people. We're not playing the Washington Wizards. Do they have enough defensively inside to hold up? Burning question. Their centers down the stretch didn't play very consistently. But there's no doubt, John, they have firepower with those big three. Now, maybe they just stand out there and shoot threes all night. And they've had nights where they hit 17 or 18 three-point baskets. They also had nights where they couldn't hit the front of the rim and got killed. You're playing good people. They can't afford to give up 146 points to anybody. But I do think LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves, if on, I don't see how you can stay in a game. And I think Minnesota's got the firepower outside of Anthony Edwards to be able to stay in a game against the Lakers. I think it's going to be a great first round, and we'll just have to see.
is the first round best of 5?
No, it's best of 7, pal.
It is best of 7 there too.
Yep.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. So we're going to learn how this goes. I just have this vision in my head that if it turned into a 3-point shooting contest, it's going to be a very unexciting game to watch. You're just going to see clanks and long rebounds and not a lot of defense being played.
Lakers don't play a lot of defense. Now, Washington does play a lot of defense. I'm sorry, Minnesota. They play a lot of defense. The T-Wolves do. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how far out. Their perimeter defense is pretty nasty. And I'm going to see how far out they're going to start banging on Luka. Did you know that Luka has never committed a foul in his life?
Never.
Every time he has the ball and somebody reaches, he's going to this with the referee. I mean, it's amazing how much whining goes on there. It doesn't seem to bother LeBron. LeBron just takes it and does what LeBron does. And, Reeves has had some really great games because defenses have to control Luka, which leaves Reeves to run off picks and get good looks and shots. And when he's hitting his 3, that's a really dangerous team.
Can we expect anything from Dalton Connect?
Probably not, unless there's fouls or injuries.
Okay. It's interesting, though. You talk about Rudy Gobert on the Timberwolves, and I was listening to someone made a reference to Rudy Gobert. Remember back in March of 2020 when the whole COVID thing broke?
Sure. And
Gobert was it him or was it someone else?
No, it was him.
Then he was making a lot of just crazy comments.
Well, he was also rubbing his hands all over people's equipment and saying, "Say, I don't care if you get COVID here."
Right. I mean, that was before we knew a whole lot about what was going on.
And he got traded. I think it was in Washington or was it Chicago? Anyhow, he got traded to Minnesota.
He was with the Jazz. Wasn't he? He's been with the Jazz like forever in Utah, right?
That's right. You're correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I mean, talk about a defensive team, and he's a great defensive player.
Yeah. Well, he's a big-time rim protector. So that's going to be fascinating to watch that facet of what the T-Wolves do. And even though I may not be a fan of Anthony Edwards, the person, because I think he's a punk, he's a hell of an offensive talent. Now, can he do it by himself? He's going to have to carry an awful lot of the workload there because I don't think that they've got enough firepower. And I'll say this, Julius Randle, who's bounced around the league, and I think is a pretty good forward, but he doesn't like to get bodied. And if he starts to get body slammed by Rui Hachimura, gets banged around, his game kind of disappears. So I don't know that Minnesota's got enough guns to help Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I like Minnesota to me is a little bit of a mystery because I don't see them very often. And the Lakers are a different kind of a mystery because they're so Jekyll and Hyde. So this is going to be just sort of an oddball series to see what happens.
Carlos, thank you for joining us. Don't shoot air balls. You watch these games. Tell me what you think when we come back on Monday. Next one.
Okay, go to Schickster here and he goes, "Go Jets, go! President's Trophy champs."
Yeah. I don't know if it's tougher to play in Winnipeg on their ice or tougher to play in LA on the Kings' home ice. I mean, for the Kings to go 34-5-1, and if they win this game tonight, to have 36 home ice wins, that's kind of unheard of in the National Hockey League. But this Winnipeg series with St. Louis is going to be hard because the Blues, they've fired coaches and guys weren't playing very well, and holy cow, St. Louis wins 12 in a row at the most important time of the season. Are fighting for their lives to win 12 in a row. I guess the only question mark, the asterisk I'll put into this conversation, which Jordan Bennington shows up in goal for St. Louis? Is it the red-hot Jordan Bennington because he's done this before, or is this the guy's fighting a puck? That's a big issue for the St. Louis Blues, but I'll tell you, Connor Hellebuyck has just had a hell of a season. He's played 62 of the 82 games. I mean, the wear and tear factor on him is absolutely stunning, and he's got 47 wins and a 2.02 goals against average. I mean, we're going to give him the Vezina Trophy in addition to the President's Trophy for sure. Winnipeg is really good.
So, I'm a newbie with hockey, admittedly, but we talk about some of these teams. I mean, is Hellebuyck the best player on the Jets?
No, but Hellebuck's the best goaltender in the league.
Okay.
You need a hot goaltender at this point of time, but they're really deep. Now, they've had some injuries. There's second and third line guys. They got some guys dinged up. If Gabe Vilardi, the XLA King, is back to being what Gabe Vilardi can be, he scored, I think, 27 goals. They just lost Nikolai Ehlers, who got hurt the other night. I don't think he's going to be ready for the St. Louis series. But they're deep. But the goaltender's a difference maker, especially in the playoffs. Hot goaltender can just save you.
Right on. I mean, this is going to be a great time of year. I'm looking forward to it.
John loves his beer, so I'm trying to introduce him to be a hockey fan while he's drinking his beer.
Yeah. It's good.
Okay, we move on.
I'm learning as I go. Okay, let's go here to Tamser Al Norm. He goes, hey, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, what's up with the Padres? They have money to sign Merrill for a long term, but nothing for King or Cease. What are the owners GM thinking? Glad Merrill is paid. What about the rest?
Well, they got Merrill on a very friendly deal. It's only $15 million per year for 14 seasons. Now, there's no opt-out. I was kind of surprised he didn't ask for an opt-out. I mean, if he becomes a legitimate superstar, and he's only been here for what, a year and 2 months, that $15 million is not going to be superstar money a couple years from now if he continues at this level. But they owe Pivetta $19 million next season. I don't know very many agents that at this point are willing to take their pitcher and lock them down to long-term in-house deals rather than take them out on the marketplace, because the dollar value in pitching free agent contracts has just gone through the ceiling.
Yeah.
So it may well be that it's not so much on the Padre front office as the agent is just Tammy is just not going to deliver a pitcher to sign a multi-year contract till they see what the price is going to be November 1st when the free agent window opens. Would they like to keep King? Yeah. Cease has been a little hot, a little bit cold. But, you know, if we can get vintage Dylan Cease, they're going to have to pay him. Somebody's going to have to pay him. Somebody's going to pay him. But I just don't see agents signing pitchers to multi-year extensions now. They want to see what the market dollar value is going to be in November. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think from my point of view, I think Preller, I'm guessing in his office has got a whiteboard.
Sure.
And he's got 2025, 26, 27, 28. He's mapping out his rotation. So I always think of these things as there's a timing for it. There's, you know, when's the right time to do these extensions? Because there's no question that they value King and they value Cease, you know, but is right now the right time to extend him? And hopefully the players understand that it's not necessarily personal that they haven't extended those kids, but it might not be the right moment for that. So maybe that's going to come later in the season or in the off season. And then maybe it depends on what happens at the trade deadline.
You know, and the other name that we've not mentioned is Suarez. He's a walk free agent at the end of the season too.
Well, he had like 10 mil a year for 5 years. So does he have like opt-outs or something, I guess, right?
Could be. But
yeah,
he has the ability to go on the open market if he wants.
Unbelievable. So yeah, Preller's cooking, you know, he's not going to leave a stone unturned. He's got a plan.
Well, these Padre fans just jumping in here. You know, last week we had people worrying about the trade deadline, and now I got people worrying about free agency. Enjoy the season. This is what a great start to the season. Yeah. Enjoy the weekend in Houston, and let's just walk down the highway here and see where it goes. Good questions, though. Thanks for being with us. Go ahead, next one.
Okay, we'll go here to Angel. He goes, hey, both the Dodgers and Padres doing good, but I'm more impressed at the Angels' good start so far at 9-7 and could easily be MLB's best kept secret if they can keep it up till Memorial Day.
Yeah, but Angel, they've started to skid, and they are not hitting. Kikuchi, who's the front of the rotation guys, had 2 bad outings out of 3 starts. Kyle Hendricks had 2 really good starts, and then he got lit in his last one, and they're not hitting at all. I think they're averaging 2 runs per game as they go into play this series now on the weekends. I'm not saying it's caught up to them. They had this nice little burst when they started the season. They hope to get Zach Neto back at shortstop probably within 2 weeks. He's on a rehab down in Salt Lake City. They just need some other guys to start to hit because they're just not scoring a lot of runs. Joe Adell's got a hip issue. He's hit some home runs, but he's not hitting for average. Taylor Ward's had a good start. O'Hoppy's had a good start. Chanel, the first baseman's had a good start, but it's not a complete roster right now, and they need to have consistent starting pitching, and they're springing a few leaks right now with the starting pitching. I'm a little bit surprised that Reed Detmers, the former #1 pick who had a good spring, is not in the rotation. Now, if these other guys continue to stagger, maybe Detmers is going to wind up coming out of the bullpen and going back into the rotation. But I have a hard time believing that they could even be a playoff team. I think I projected that they were going to win 75 games. Last year, they wound up with 99 losses. It was terrible. But if they win 75, then that's a season of accomplishment.
Yeah, incremental progress. I think if they finish 500 or better, that's a huge win. You know, it's just seeing how they were the previous number of years. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's cool though that they're relevant. There's something to talk about with the Angels. I mean, we love talking Padres Dodgers, but it's nice to have the Angels in the mix too.
Yeah, tough division. Texas is the one to beat. Houston is no longer what Houston was. Seattle's not a complete team. They just have never addressed what they can do to fix that offense, and the A's are the A's. So the Angels are better than the Athletics, but not equal to the ones above them.
I want to get this quote in here because this is so ridiculous. And it's from New. He goes, nobody cares about baseball.
Well, that's okay, because on this talk show, we cover everything. So instead of beating up baseball fan, just pick the topic you want to talk about. Don't waste your time on the Fans Forum chat box by begging on other people. Tell us what you want to talk about. Yeah, people do like baseball, but hey, we cover the whole bloody thing. And I guarantee you, don't ever say nobody cares about hockey, because there'll be somebody come right through that screen and cross-check you.
Yeah, you got to give it up to you. You got street cred with hockey for sure.
But you got street cred with a lot of people who don't like me, but that's okay.
Yeah, okay. You know what though? The baseball content that we put out there on the internet does really well.
Yeah.
I mean, it does really better than a lot of the other sports, because I think there's just baseball is such a thing in Southern California, which is where your reputation is really the strongest. So doesn't like baseball. Come on, man. I mean, let's keep moving here. Let's go here to Carlos. He goes, hey, good job, Madres. So when is the April parade? You might want to hang another wild card banner this year.
Is Carlos sending us, is he from the 213 area code?
Probably, yeah.
It's
Those
okay.
are like little blue laughing emojis.
There's no problem with Dodger fan banging on Padre fan, because the next one would be punching up. Will be a Padre fan throwing a beanball at you, but that's okay. It's pretty good rivalry. It's really cool. That's what disappoints me, John, that the decision makers in the commissioner's office, knowing the depths of this rivalry, why did we not have the Dodgers Padres opening their season on the West Coast against each other? Could have played off what happened at the end of last season.
Yeah.
How come we have to sit here till June till we get to see them play each other?
Yeah, it's this way they do the scheduling is often odd. You kind of wonder, but remember, was it last year or 2 years ago they faced each other at opener in Seoul?
Yeah.
And I remember once about 10 years ago, they opened up, and I think the Padres lost to the Dodgers 15-0.
Andy Green's first game.
Yeah.
In fact, they got shut out all 3 home games. Kind of took the wind out of the balloon.
But not till June are we going to see the Dodgers. That does seem kind of weird. The other thing with the schedule is, I wonder, they must purposely try to schedule games further south, because you don't need to be playing in Wrigley Field in April.
There's nothing wrong with the weather in Fenway in April, in Boston. Hell, no, we've not had any rainouts. I don't think we've not had any cold weather snowball games. I remember the Toronto Blue Jays, the first year they played as an expansion team, they played at an old stadium outdoors right on the lake. I think it was called Canadian National Exhibition Stadium, CNE. And it snowed the first day. And the game was delayed because they were shoveling snow out of the outfield. The infield was covered. And they had all the players coming out. And normally the guys would stand in front of the dugout and just warm up and throw. Guys are throwing snowballs at each other. It was the first Blue Jays home game ever. And they did play the game, and it was decided by a home run in the 9th inning with the people decked out like they were Eskimos. It was so cold in Toronto. But, baseball should have the ability to stay out of the bad weather elements, but you still got to you can't send Minnesota and Detroit and put them on the road for 18 days in a row at the start of the season. They have to have some home games there, but we haven't had any real weather related problems first 3 weeks of the campaign.
I remember back in the 70s, the Expos played at Jerry Park. Jerry Park was like a community park out there before they built Olympic Stadium. And then in the mid 90s, when the Cleveland Indians were in the World Series, I think one of those games was snowed out, or certainly it had a lot of snow going on during the game. That's just weird. It's baseball belongs in the sun, the heat. It's weird when it's cold.
So when you take this vacation in midseason, will you send me a postcard from Tampa and let me know what it's like to go to a Rays home game outside in Tampa in July at Legends Field, Steinbrenner Stadium?
You know what I will do, though? Next month, we're going to see the Padres play in Denver. against the Rockies. So I'll give you a report from Coors Field.
You'll be the one sitting down by the dugout because I know that sucker won't be sold out because
Yeah.
there are no Rocky fans right now. Speaking of attendance, I saw a video last night. Pittsburgh Pirate fans are just in utter revolt. There was nobody in PNC Park. I think they announced 6,600. There was nobody.
I saw that picture, and 6,600 is a lie. I mean, it looked like it was less than 1,000.
Yeah, exactly. It was just that it's been such a fans revolt against Pirate ownership. Okay, let's move on here. Fans Forum chat box. You got topics, questions, statements. We'll punch them up.
Okay, here's one from Jason. He goes, Saw just can't help himself. Got to try and make it a Trump versus Jackie. Pathetic.
No, it was Rob Manfred responding to Trump wanting baseball to change their salute to Jackie Robinson. And Rob Manfred said, absolutely not. I'm just reporting the facts the way they are. Am I trying to separate my personal feelings? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but that's okay. My podcast, your podcast, under First Amendment rights. But I want somebody, please somebody tell me what Jackie Robinson represented. Instead of taking a shot at me, does Jackie Robinson mean anything to you? You tell me what you have to say. So Jason, you're out of here. I totally reject that critique.
Well, it's stupid for the president of the United States to be meddling in Major League Baseball. I mean, no matter what the topic is. I mean, dude, stay in your lane. You've got bigger fish to fry than this. But the Jackie Robinson story, that's American history right there, you know? And so I like the fact you were talking about how Jason Hayward and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who he's legit, you know, he's a very wise man. To him talking to the Dodgers and to the Rockies, Hayward talking here with the Cubbies and the Padres. Awesome. Yeah. Love seeing them carry that heritage forward. I mean, because there's the whole DII thing. I mean, there's a lot there that's kind of a little bit, I don't think it's done as well as it could be, but the Jackie Robinson thing is perfect.
It should be a separate entity. We're honoring the person and the man and what he meant for the game and what he meant to society. He was as influential in that era pre-Martin Luther King. How he brought the community together, how he brought the sports together. Martin Luther King obviously had a very, very different impact, but so that's why I'm just so stunned that the White House would try to delete all things Jackie Robinson, as if the accomplishments of great African Americans don't mean anything in our history per those people at the White House. No, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. You're buying that? That's your right. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying you then if you're buying that.
You know, just another tangent on Jackie. I mean, he passed away as a young man, right? I mean,
he was an old man well before his years.
Oh,
I think he might have died at age 56.
But he passed away like in the early 70s, I think.
Yes,
right?
he had leukemia. He lost his eyesight. He had diabetes. I think the wear and tear, the emotional trauma on him for everything he experienced growing up without a father, growing up in Georgia, growing up in Los Angeles, growing up in Pasadena, then what he became as an athlete, what he experienced in the Army and racism. I just think it took a terrible toll on him. Jerry Coleman once told me that he went to an all-star festivity when Jerry was a broadcaster and Jackie was there. And Jackie had already lost his sight and Jackie was 54 or 55.
Wow.
But it was just the wear and tear on him. But separate that, what the man accomplished in baseball, what the man accomplished meant to society, just, I think, phenomenal. And if you're a baseball fan, if you've never seen the movie 42, it's a veneer approach to the Jackie Robinson story, but it's really well done. So, you know, you can go find the movie 42. Go to your library. there's 7 different biographies of Jackie Robinson. I think I've read 5 of them. I'm just addicted to baseball history. Just really, really great stuff. And then Jackie Robinson wrote his own biography too. So it's good. I'll just ask a question again. I mean, coming from a baseball family, he meant a lot to me, what I saw growing up, what I experienced. You tell me you're a baseball fan. What does Jackie Robinson mean to you? Okay, move on.
I just wanted to say I love the quote from the movie with Pee Wee Reese. I don't know if he said this in real life, but
he did.
Yeah, hey, one day maybe we'll all wear 42 and they can't tell us apart.
Exactly. There were
so awesome.
There were a lot of truisms in that movie. Mm-hmm. You know, granted it was Hollywood, etc. But and I thought the guy that played Branch Rickey was unbelievable. That was Branch Rickey.
Wow.
We move on.
We move on. Okay, let's go here to Greg. And he goes, Lee, what do you think of my Mount Rushmore of Major League announcers of Vin Scully, Merrill Reese, Mike Emmerich, and Lee Hacksaw Hamilton?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I don't know that I have the national reputation of the greatness of Vin Scully. Merrill Reese has just been an icon. Brad Sham, the voice of the Dallas Cowboys, who I'm friends with, he's been there for a long period of time. Mike Emmerich was great. But, you know, can't exclude some of the greatest hockey announcers from Hockey Night in Canada. You know, Foster Heward, I never met him. He was before my generation, but Foster Heward is held in unbelievable renown. But there have been so many great ones. Thank you for the compliment. I enjoy what I've done and what I'm doing. Not everybody does, but that's okay. But Scully more than anybody else. But where's Howard Cosell? Should he not be on that list? I mean, we're talking about trendsetters and difference makers and guys that made the industry what the industry would become.
Oh, Chick Hearn is another name that I think is up there.
Yep.
But I think it's cool. I mean, you know, there's all these different sort of tiers and levels of announcers, but you are seriously up there. You're way up there. And people know of you throughout America. I mean, seriously, they do.
I understand
you know, so because they've all kind of experienced the touchdown San Diego or whatever it was. And I think a lot of other people in sports media will sometimes make sort of references to you that maybe a lot of people don't get. Like I know Rome often will kind of, you know, do your shtick on his show.
It's okay. Thanks for listening. I don't care. It's fine and it is funny though. I'm walking through the airport in Chicago and somebody yells at me, "Touchdown San Diego." You know, and you know, the aisles in the airport are just jammed with bodies and somebody's yelling at me from across the way.
That's awesome.
At the other gate. So that's cool. That's all right. Thank you for the compliment.
Okay. Carlos has another, actually a pretty good one. I want to sneak it in. Hacksaw is a hater. The hoodie is living every old man's dream. Who wouldn't want a young girl like that in their 60s or 70s?
Especially if she's got access to blue pills. It is bizarre. I had people in the ACC that I'm friends with say, this story is not going to go away. And this is not going to work out real well on the University of North Carolina campus. 74-year-old man with 24-year-old woman. She's parading around. It's just, the whole thing to me is really bizarre. I mean, he's a great coach and he's a great leader with great accomplishments and et cetera, et cetera. But to show up with a 24-year-old fiance, girlfriend, whatever, and it's his life. He has the right to do whatever he wants. But to parade her around and give her access to the football program and, you know, here's the hoodie coaching the Tar Heels in spring football on the sidelines, dressed like he always dressed in New England. And she's walking around with a long coat and a mini skirt and slick white boots. Just, that's a unique sight.
It's like, I don't want to make this disparaging on the young woman, but it's like Bill Belichick's like walking his dog. You know, it's like they're how do I say this? It's just like an accessory, you know, for Bill Belichick. This woman is
conversation piece.
Yeah.
Holy
And so,
cow.
and it just makes you wonder. So obviously she's getting something out of this relationship. And if he's running his business affairs, maybe there's some financial opportunity for her.
Okay. But why does he say Hacksaw's a hater? I'm just commenting on the story. The story is Belichick saying, I'm not paying that to a left tackle in the transfer portal. And then
they're always calling you a hater.
Yeah,
if it's not for the Dodgers or the Lakers or someone.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion, Carlos, even if it's wrong. Thanks for joining us and following. Go ahead, John.
Okay, we'll go to Chris. Saw, with your season-long love affair with Connor Hellebuck winding down, let's talk about a retread netminder given a second lease on life. And how about the top puck stopper in the entire NHL? What a huge advantage between the pipes for the Kings in this Edmonton series.
Well, I've talked extensively. I assume he's making reference to Darcy Kemper, because when that trade was made, I just questioned Rob Blake. You're bringing back somebody you got rid of? It didn't make any sense. But I guess guys learn on the job. Guys get better on the job. And what Kemper has done this season and the workload. Now, David Rittich is kind of a trustworthy backup. But boy, what Darcy Kemper's done for the Kings, big difference maker. If Darcy Kemper were in Edmonton, because their goaltender is really struggling. If Darcy Kemper were the Oilers goaltender, then Edmonton might be chasing Vancouver for the top spot in the West. But so far, so good. Kemper's had a career life season for him. So, and I've talked about him extensively, I'd say, in the last calendar month.
So break it down for me. Who, in your opinion, in today's NHL are the top 3 goalkeepers?
Well, I'd say Hellebuck more than anything else. I think the 2 Russians in Tampa and Florida are really state-of-the-art. They are really good. Don't get a lot of credit because those teams have firepower and they have their own set of stars, but they are really good goaltenders. But, what Hellebuck has done, and he's been good, but he's never been this good. When you get 47 wins, 2.02 goals against average, which I think is phenomenal in this day and age of the NHL, that's pretty good. And so what Kemper's done to almost match Hellebuck's statistics is just staggering. Dallas got a good goaltender, Jake Ettinger, but is he at that next level up? No, I don't think so. It's tough. When I grew up in hockey, and I mean, I remember great goaltending. I remember Jacques Plante, Montreal Canadiens, New York Rangers. I mean, he's in a world of his own. And then we got modern day goaltending. The Kings had a great run. The Ducks, Jean-Sebastien Giguère, when the Ducks got the Stanley Cup, the Ducks won a cup. Think about that. And
Wow.
and the Kings, the Kings have won the cup twice. They've had great goaltending too, but none of them have been really state-of-the-art guys. Hellebuck's numbers in modern day, where everybody's got snipers, and it's just so much combat and so much traffic in front of the net. You have a 2.02 goals against average and a save percentage of nearly 910 when you're facing traffic and rubber. That's a hell of a number.
Well, it seems like you have to have more than quick reflexes. I mean, you've got to see the play developing and sort of have future vision to see the angle that the puck is probably going to take after it's passed to a likely assist man. So this, I mean, it takes an extraordinary, different kind of athleticism, I think, to be a keeper in the NHL.
I think the ability to move side to side, the ability, it's amazing how quick some of these guys are. And, they've streamlined the equipment. There was a stretch of time within the last 5 to 10 years, you couldn't see the goal crease. You couldn't see the goal because these guys are 6'4", wearing monstrous uniforms and big pads. And so they've reduced the size of the shoulder pads. They reduced the goaltender's leg pads. It's different now than it was. You go back and look at the old pictures of the old NHL back in the 50s and 60s. See how slight the goaltenders were and how small their leg pads were. It's absolutely phenomenal compared to what the guys are today.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously got to be limits on that sort of thing.
Well, they did. They've cut it down a great deal.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, hey, I love goaltending.
Yeah, you do. Okay, let's go here to Gordon. And he says, hi, Lee and John, father of 13. I forgot to mention one woman for all 13 kids. Hey, the Browns should take Travis Hunter with their second pick, then take a quarterback in the second round. Thanks and happy Easter.
Bingo on all those points. We're going to talk about that Monday with our draft preview with John Cooper. This is a really good draft. It's a very different draft. But hey, you're at the top of the draft board, you're going to find defensive player, or you're going to find offensive lineman. Cleveland's got offensive tackle problems, but I don't think they're going to take an offensive tackle sitting at where they are at number 2. But there will be that second series of quarterbacks in the second round, and I think there'll be a run on those guys. And yeah, Cleveland could take one. I don't know whether it's MILROE. They brought MILROE in right at the end. I don't know whether it's SHOUGH from Louisville, but they brought him in right at the end. So yeah, I could see Cleveland going to get another quarterback. Thank you for being with us. Next one.
Well, the Cleveland's always had great luck drafting quarterbacks.
40 different quarterbacks, 40 different starting quarterbacks since 1999.
Oh, they're bringing back Joe Flacco.
Exactly. That'll solve it for 15 minutes.
Okay, let's go to John. He goes, hey, if Kemper had played like this in D.C., he'd still be a Cap.
Concur. I'll be intrigued to see. Washington's really good. Carberry has done such a great job as the head coach. I mean, making that thing come together. And they did this for a chunk of time with Ovechkin out with the injury. I'm going to be intrigued to see if Logan Thompson can be a difference maker, young goaltender. Is he ready for this? Because you have to go through this cycle of postseason play to understand how different a world it is if you're a goaltender. So I'll be intrigued to see if Logan Thompson can kind of hold up to it. But Eastern Conference is good. I don't know if it all goes through Washington or whether it's going to actually wind up in Florida or Tampa. Here's the most weird thing about the Eastern Conference. We're not talking about the Boston Bruins. Boston Bruins have been so good for so long. The Bruins are not in the playoffs. Think about that.
Yeah, that is strange. I mean, they're always in the
You know,
playoffs.
it got old, and then they got rid of Marchand and some other guys at the trade deadline, so that they're in the beginning of rebuild. But again, I'll circle back to what I said. You can hate if you want. I got Toronto in the East. I got Winnipeg in the West in the NHL Finals.
Whatever happened to the Hartford Whalers?
They became the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh,
They had building problems. They were a great franchise, and the World Hockey Association got into the NHL as part of the merger, but they had a much smaller building, Hartford Civic Center. The roof caved in. There were a lot of problems there. And eventually they were put up for sale, and they became the Carolina Hurricanes. They moved into the Triad, and they're not based in Charlotte. They're based in Raleigh-Durham, and they've developed their own following, and organizationally they've done a really good job. Their general manager, he just left a year ago. Their general manager was Donnie Waddell, who was here, started his managerial coaching career here with the San Diego Gulls in the original. It was the International Hockey League at that point in time when we got hockey back. And Donnie went to Carolina, has been there forever, and he just went to Columbus this past year to be the general manager of the Blue Jackets. So he's San Diego Ties, Carolina Hurricane. Good team.
Interesting. And by the way, the Whalers had a great logo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the best of all time.
Yep.
Okay, let's go here to Showtime. And he'll say, hey, I maintain the Dodgers will be just fine. Evan Phillips is back on Friday. Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates have turned this into the bullpen from hell. When Snell comes back, they will go on a run.
Exactly. It's 162 games. But at this minute, at this instant, they just sent Bobby Miller back after he got blown up last night. He's in Oklahoma City. They sent Landon Knack back after a bad start. Justin Wroblewski, the other young starter, he got lit. He went back to OKC. So, all the young guys, they're just not there yet. Snell, we don't know. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 4 weeks. We just don't know at this time. I mean, I think the storyline is not just what Yamamoto has done, and he's got an ERA like a 1.23. I mean, what Dustin May has done in 3 starts, 1.06. Now, they're handling him with kid gloves. He's going 5 innings. He could throw 5 innings of no-hit ball or 5 innings of 5-run ball. He's coming out after 5, but they're just modified how they're handling him. And so far, Dustin May has just really been special. Ohtani, that's down road. Kershaw, first good start, Oak City, no problems. We'll see how he feels as he throws between starts. They were thinking at least 3 minor league rehab starts for him, and then maybe in the bullpen in LA as a long reliever, but they think July 1st with him. So we got Ohtani coming down road, Kerr coming after him.
Dave Roberts was talking about how they've got so many closers in that bullpen. Yep. Right here, Evan Phillips was a closer, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Trinan. Who else is anyone else in there been a closer?
Off the top of my head, not that is closer variety, but
it's cool to see Kirby Yates still in the league.
Yeah, and he's fought back from so much adversity with elbow surgery and thought his career was over when he left the Padres, and he reinvented himself for like a 3rd different time. So, but you can't use him a lot. They're using Tanner Scott a lot. So we'll just have to see how he holds up over the long haul.
Okay, let's keep going here, and let's go back up here to Neil. And he says, hey, besides Josh Johnson and Chris Bryant, are there any other high-profile pro athletes that could help USD athletics?
Well, that's a good question. More recently, no. But again, USD has very influential alums, phenomenal law school. So there are a lot of people with USD diplomas that should give back to this university to help, I think, save this athletic program. One of the other pro guys, unfortunately, just passed away, Brian Mattis, who had pitched for the Orioles. He was a #1 draft pick. He sadly passed away. A lot of controversy over his death and drug-related, etc. So there's not been a ton. There are some guys that are playing minor league baseball, I believe, who've got USD ties. So community just needs to come together to help this program. I do think it's a life and death situation, how much they can raise with this NIL. That's what I tell my viewers, just go check it out, sdnil.com, and see if there's something you can do to help them, because I think they really need help.
Connor Joe.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Connor Joe went to USD. And then, Ron Fowler has his name on the stadium there.
Exactly. And he's been unbelievable benefactor of those programs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for the input, Neil.
Okay. And let's get one more of these before we go to social media. And we'll go to Joseph. He goes, hey, who will San Diego target at the trade deadline to try to maintain their massive 1.5 game lead over my Los Angeles Dodgers?
A lot of baseball to be played between now and then. I wouldn't worry about the trade deadline. Let's just see who's healthy. The other factor is their budget's kind of spent. I mean, they're up. I think they're up to $211 million, which is a little bit higher than I ever thought they were going to be. I'd been told coming out of spring training that they're going to have to get to 190, but ownership let them go to 205. And then they made another acquisition or two, so they're up to probably 211. I don't think there's a lot more money there unless they dispatch somebody out the door. If they trade payroll to get a different type of payroll, but people are worrying about stuff down road. Geez, enjoy the start. You're in first place right now, best record in Major League Baseball. Just enjoy it. Don't freak out about impending free agency or the trade deadline. My goodness.
I think I'm going to have withdrawal symptoms since they're not on TV today, on a travel day. Just enjoy the run right now. It's all good. You want to take a few social media?
Do we have to? Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Some of these guys out here, they always got something to say. And let's go here. We'll talk a little Angels, and let's start with Surf City Bill. We'll talk about Artie Moreno and his lawsuits. And he goes, hey, if Artie can minimize Kay's conviction, then that weakens the Skaggs family lawsuit, since Kay is the leak to the Angels. It's purely a business strategy by Artie and his law team. Artie could not care less about Kay.
Well, it's a sad commentary. I mean, Eric Kay, the communications director, was convicted, sentenced to 22 years in prison for dealing fentanyl and other drugs to other players, including the Angels, including the one that he obviously gave, Tyler Skaggs, who overdosed and died. Skaggs' family is suing Artie Moreno. Eric Kay says he did not get good legal representation in the first trial. He's appealed this conviction. Artie Moreno supposedly, according to The Athletic, is funding Eric Kay's legal attempt for the appeal, which I find really hard to believe. Kay also sued the Angels for unfair termination. I mean, it's very complicated, and maybe it's all lawyers than it is anything else, versus right versus wrong, but it's a sad commentary. And the Skaggs family has asked for $214 million in damages from the Angels as a byproduct, that they should have known that Kay was a drug dealer. They did help Kay. They sent him I was told they sent Eric Kay to drug rehab at least 3 times, and Kay came back and kept relapsing. Now, why they didn't terminate him, if he continued to have problems, why they didn't terminate him is, I guess that's a separate entity question. So I have a hard time believing that Artie Moreno is a bad person. But this is just a bad look in every different direction with the Angels.
Yeah, it's just weird when there's a lawsuit kind of hanging over the team. It just, really kills the vibe, as far as fan experience. So let's find out more. But this is complicated. And I agree with you. I think when Artie bought the team and he discounted beer prices, Artie's a good dude. We all thought that from the very beginning.
But he's mismanaged it. And now they're a 99-loss team. Bad farm system. He made enormous mistakes in free agency, but he tried. And I think that's
totally.
We have to keep that in mind too. But this whole Skaggs death, Eric Kay situation, it pulls a terrible cloud over the entire operation and organization. There's a lot of good people that have worked there that have kind of been taken to task because of all this. I just have a hard time believing that Artie Moreno's a bad citizen. Eric Kay obviously was a citizen with a terrible addiction that could not beat it. And now I have a dead pitcher because of it. But the pitcher bears responsibility too, does he not?
Well, in the end, that's where the main responsibility is.
Yeah. Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's go here. Talk some Padres. This is with Eric Whiteman. He goes, talk about, did A.J. Preller finally get it right? And he says, or everything A.J. Preller has done that Hacksaw criticized has culminated in this Padres team. Maybe he knew what he was doing all along, and Hacksaw was way off base.
I don't know. I was off base. I was responding to the unbelievable expenditure of money. I mean, the amount of money that AJ burned through in the Shields deal, and when he had to pay the White Sox to take the contract, that's a lot of money. It's like $60 million total. And what he gave Eric Hosmer that did not pan out, and they're still paying on Eric Hosmer 3 years after he is gone. That's money that could be used other places. What he gave international players that absolutely washed out. I mean, you're looking at the standings right now, and you're seeing Machado and you're seeing Tatis, but you have to understand here, we're giving guys 10 and 12 and 14-year contracts going to run till age 42. those guys won't be producing beyond age 35 and you're still on the hook. So I got a right to critique the business model that AJ presented. Has he done a good job right now? Pretty good team right now. All rentals. A year from today, a bunch of these pitchers will be gone, and maybe it's going to be a different set of circumstances. So it's too easy to jump all over the host and say, oh, Hacksaw's wrong. Well, if you put pencil to paper and you went through all the deals that he made, like I did, all the financial things that he did, and Peter Seidler allowed him to do, all the money he burned through, I don't think it's a good business set of decisions. They're in first place right now. That is great. Maybe it's a whole season. Maybe it's a World Series team. But if it's not, that has to fall under the equation. Was the money spent properly in every decision that was made? And I don't think it has been totally. Right now, yes.
Well, if you're drawing 47,000 people to a Monday night game in April, I'd imagine that balance sheet looks pretty good for the team. So by AJ Preller getting all this talent, he's getting fans excited. They're coming out. The the stadium operations guys are doing a great job. But I will say this is, one of the really interesting websites is MLBTradeRumors.com. Mm-hmm. I've been on there, and there's some fans there in the comments section that really follow the intricacies of all the general managers in baseball. And some of these guys, from a national perspective, are very critical of AJ Preller. And they think he's the worst general manager in baseball. But they were saying this, of course, like 5 years ago. But a lot's changed since then. I mean, for me as a fan, I'm thrilled. I think he's fantastic.
I have no argument. I mean, what they've put in place really works at this minute. But we're talking 10 years in now. And the first 5 to 7 years, he burned through all this money and all these players, and he traded all these guys away, didn't make any progress. And when they finally got good, then they pissed it away in the postseason.
See, I'm willing to give him a little slack on that, because when he came on board, Padres had nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. And the cupboard was bare. They had nothing in the minor leagues, and he almost had to build it up and burn it down and kind of take one step backward in order to do 2 steps forward. So I'm giving him a little bit of that grace. And there's been some weird things that have happened, some bad luck. You trade for Soto, and Soto kind of laid an egg here, and they gave up a lot to get him. So a lot of these cases where you can be critical of him, they didn't work out the way everyone expected. Even the Will Myers deal, we were all excited about Myers, top prospect in baseball. Trey Turner was a questionable first-round pick.
They thought it was questionable. Nobody else did.
Well, everyone thought Trey Turner was going to be a great defensive player. He'd steal some bases, but never hit for power. And now look what he's turned into. That trade went sideways in a hurry, and I don't think anyone expected that.
And the Juan Soto transaction has put a lot of everyday guys having really good seasons, and there's still another hot young prospect to be delivered to the Washington Nationals. I don't know whether that turned out to be the trade that could have changed things.
Well, yeah, you woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I'll tell you what, the Padres are relevant. The Padres have the best record in baseball. The Padres have the best stadium in baseball. The energy is great. What's the hate?
That's what I'm saying right now. Why is Eric's upset about what I talked about for the first 9 years of the guy's operation, which I think was pretty truthful. That's okay. Eric, thanks for joining us on social media. We move on.
Okay, let's talk here about a little PGA LIV. This is from Marv. He goes, hey, I loved watching Phil and Johnson and Bubba, but they had a choice. They took millions now, and they want to play majors? I say no way. I was not happy to see live players at Masters, that 10 PGA players that didn't have a chance to play. If they unite, our PGA players get to play LIV tournaments? I don't think so.
This merger thing is stalled, and there's so many different angles to why it's not been delivered. I think there's so much resentment against the guys that took the money, and the guys in the PGA Tour will not allow them to come back unless they pay a penalty, give the money back. They violated their tour card. And, DeChambeau was the LIV guy that was right there till the end and then had the bad Sunday, but the other guys didn't make the cut. Go back and play your tournaments. You got your money and nobody gives a damn, and you're not on my TV anymore, and you're not on my radar, not on the golf fans' radar. I think that's a sad commentary. I feel so bad, and I've been kind of critical of Phil Mickelson because I like Phil, and I've known Phil a long time, but I feel so bad he did this to himself. And now he's not the player he used to be. And it's sad commentary. He doesn't make the cuts anymore. And he got his payday.
How old is he?
I don't know, 40, 38. He got his payday. I guess that's what was important.
I thought he's like around 50. Hasn't he golfed on the seniors tour?
No, he's never gone on the seniors tour. He could, but he's not.
Okay. So he's over 50.
But I have a tough time. I feel bad when I look at Phil Mickelson, but I have to say this because he started this. And he's the guy that started to recruit other guys while they were on their tour cards about coming with him. He already took the money. So part of me feels bad because I like Phil and I've known him and I've interviewed him many, many times. The other part of me says, geez, you created a mess by doing this. And then everybody else followed and they've done it. Now some of these guys want out and they can't get out. And it's the fourth year of LIV and has not made an impact in the States at all.
No, it hasn't. And it's interesting because, you and I have talked about how the PGA players don't want to take them back, unless they pay a penalty. And I always thought that was sort of petty, in my opinion. But it's interesting seeing the responses, particularly to this video segment, PGA rejects LIV offer, on the YouTube channel, because there are fans that are very articulate explaining why they don't want to have anything to do with it. It's the blood money angle, right, that they don't like. There's a lot of other people that legitimately hate team play. And then Live Golf apparently is loud music going on. It's like a big party atmosphere as opposed to kind of the more conservative and polite PGA.
It's the PGA that we knew and we grew up with and we were respected. You're asking us to change it? Team play? Rock and roll? Come on.
Rock and roll. That's the devil's music.
All right, we move on.
Okay, we move on. Okay, hey, here's an NFL draft comment. This is from Indelicious, and he's a Charger fan. He says, hey, that running back, Ashton Genty's coming to the Chargers. We're going to trade a lot, but it's going to happen.
I don't see how that's possible. You can't go from 22 inside the top 6 picks. The cost is way too prohibitive, and you can find good running backs in the second round. You can find guys in the third round. Where the Chargers are at 22, they're going to get a really good player. And you'll want to be with us for the Monday draft preview show we're going to do. But at 22, they may get their choice of wide receivers. At 22, there's probably a good defensive tackle there. At 22, there'll probably be a cornerback or a safety that you can go get. 22, there's probably going to be a guard or a center. So at 22, they're going to get a really good player. They just have to decide what the 21 teams in front of them doing of the group that's there at 22, which one do they like the best? So we'll talk more about it on Monday, but you can't trade that high. And as great as Genty looks to be, running backs wear and tear factor, life expectancy of running back, I just don't think you can go from 22 to 4, try to make that kind of trade. Raiders at 6, they look like that's an ideal landing spot for Genty. That'd be a good choice for them. They got a lot of other needs, a lot of other things that they got to fill. They could also take a wide receiver, but the wide receivers are not great. I mean, they shouldn't take a wide receiver at 4. If they're thinking wide receiver, they should trade back. I'm talking about the Raiders. Trade back to maybe 10 and then get the choice of one of those wide receivers. So it's a really good draft, but it's a really great defensive draft. I've never seen a draft that, as I told John, I went back and looked at 5, I think it was 5 mock drafts early this morning. Try to gauge what everybody's doing. And the composite I came up with is 18 defensive players are going to go in the first round, 6 offensive linemen. So that's 24 of the 32 picks are not skill guys. I've never seen that in the league. And it's obviously not a great year for quarterbacks because we got one quarterback at the top and the second quarterback's dropping like a cement block in the water.
The cement block and Shadur Sanders. I have this vision in my head, First of all, I love the enthusiasm, because sometimes fans sort of have these irrational, ideas about some trades and getting all the star players. I like that.
Well, he has no doubt there that that's an intelligent question because they need a running back.
Yeah.
But there are no running backs equal to Genty for them to take late in the first round. And common sense will tell you can't go from 22 to 4. You'd have to pay too steep a price to make that big a jump.
Yeah, exactly. Now, as far as Genty goes, he played in the Mountain West. Are we going to get a thing where, well, he didn't play in the SEC or the Big Ten? I mean, this guy can't be that good.
Except that Boise played a lot of big-time teams. He played well against big-time teams. So he's fast, he's physical, he has no injury history, he's a workhorse, he's got an extra gear, he's got great balance. His one-cut jumps, just absolutely amazing. He's a fine player, but running backs do get beat up, running backs do get hurt. Life expectancy of running back is different than expectancy at another position. He's a really fine player, and I don't think he gets by the Raiders at 6.
Yeah, that makes sense for me at the Raiders, yeah.
And that's not the shiny object syndrome either. That's really fine football player. And how about the person? He turned down a lot of money from Big 12 teams in the NIL and the transfer. I'm staying here at Boise.
All right. Yeah, it's loyal to his
Cool kid.
His team, yeah.
Okay. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this extended Thursday podcast.
It is extended.
Just a couple of reminders. Monday at 1:30, NFL Draft Preview. John Cooper, our Lads Draft Guide, the draft editor, is going to join us on the live stream. We're going to be talking about the hot names on the draft board and the latest in rumors. Want you to tell all your friends who we are, what we do, Mondays at 1:30, Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to check my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. It's all written. It's there every day. Want you to join the Insiders group. You'll get our emails, get on our email list for all the stuff that we provide. Want you to join me on social media, become part of my Twitter all-star team. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button there at Hacksaw1090. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe, you automatically get the alerts when John and I put extra special video stuff up on our YouTube channel. And we want you to give us a thumbs up. It would really help us a lot. Give us a 5-star rating because we think what we do is pretty good here. But we're going to be back here on Monday at 1:30. The podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you, and by Our Lads Draft Guide. If you like college football, if you like the NFL draft, I want you to go to their website right now and just file to get the Our Lads Draft Guide. You won't believe the volume of draft information. If you make the purchase now, you'll be able to get it through the mail before the draft on Thursday. John, take a deep breath. We got NBA playoffs. We got hockey playoffs. We obviously got baseball on the road. We got all the latest from the NFL and the draft. So we got a lot to cover this weekend before we get back here on Monday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Monday because John Cooper was a great guest. And we don't have guests very often on the podcast. So I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun talking about the draft.
We thank you for being with us. Always great to have you part of our team. Hope you tell your friends. We'll see you Monday, our draft preview at 1:30 on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to leehacksawhamilton.com.